Hey, this is Larry the Cable Guy. Check this out. Me and my buddy was in my truck the other day running up there at the men's warehouse to fart in the suits, and he was listening to something on his phone. I said, well, that sounds like Hermie Sadler. He goes, it is Hermie Sadler. He's got a podcast called Leaning Right and Turning Left with Sadler and the Senator. I said, the Senator? He said, that's his good buddy, Bill Stanley, Virginia State Senator. I said, you gotta be kidding me. They got a show? And he didn't know this. I said, did you know Hermie was voted one of the 50 best looking drivers in NASCAR? He said, I did not know that. I said, because it ain't true. He didn't even make the top 70. But you never know. He never takes his helmet off. But I'll tell you what, this show is unbelievable. So pull up a chair right there close to your phone. Get yourself a cold beer and give a listen right here to this week's episode of Leaning Right and Turning Left with Sadler and the Senator. Because these boys will make you learn, make you laugh, and make you happier than a tornado in a trailer park. I don't understand why Michael Waltrip couldn't be this successful. Boy, that's good. Listen to this show, or you're a communist. Get it done.
I'm Virginia State Senator Bill Stanley, and I'm leaning right, according to Shep Moss as he waves his hand at me.
And I'm former NASCAR driver and Fox Sports analyst, now small business owner operator, somewhat, sometimes. Hermie Sadler. And I used to say I'm turning left, but now I think I'm turning in circles.
Well, you must be talking about your campaign, aren't you?
I'm not talking about my campaign.
Okay.
I'm talking about trying to run a small business.
Well, and tonight we have...
In a tough environment.
It is a very tough environment. We're trying to work through that here in the Virginia General Assembly 2023. But you know what? We brought back our purse, our man bag, our plus one. Shep Moss is back in the house.
Oh, this is just a great introduction. Thank you so much, Senator.
Shep.
And I wasn't waving at you. I was actually waving the green flag for you to go.
Okay, so Shep Moss is on the board tonight because Shep Moss runs Party Time USA, right? What is it called?
Party Time Music.
Party Time Music.
Yeah.
Born and raised in the USA.
With Shep Moss.
Brunswick County.
Okay. So you're more in tune with this. He set up all the microphones. We're not at the Stanley Law Group's skyscraper.
Yeah, it's not frigid in here tonight.
No, it's warm. You have some air conditioning. We're at my apartment in the West End here in the Virginia General Assembly. I stay way off of campus. But we're doing this tonight because, we need to get this done. And it was a late day in the Virginia General Assembly as we get towards what's called crossover. Crossover is when we have to finish our bills, send them over to the House. The House sends theirs over to ours, and we start considering their bills, and they consider ours. But we have to get them done by midnight tomorrow night. And today we had 85 pages of bills on our calendar that we had to keep trying to move through. And so it was a long night. Because it was a long night, I decided, you guys come on over. I'll make you dinner. Get back here, relax a little bit. We're not doing it in the very frigid waters of the Stanley Law Group skyscraper overlooking beautiful
like
downtown Richmond, Virginia.
For the weight loss. I think he's sabotaging us on the
No, I am making you a meal, which is it's chicken carne asada tacos, street tacos, carb-free tortillas, and vegetables. Maybe a little bit of cheese.
I've just had dry tortilla chips so far. I don't know.
Yeah, you're doing really well.
So appreciate you having us over. But you mentioned the getting ready for crossover. So how has the session been going for you on your bills personally? How do you feel about what you've been able to accomplish?
Well, it's been a weird session. So my last 3 bills were heard this morning in the Judiciary Committee in the Senate. 2 died. One I wasn't surprised about. One I was kind of surprised about. One bill that I had was what happens when a parent violates a permanent child protective order. And usually it's a protection order protecting the child from the parent. And my solve problem, the way to solve this problem was to make it a class 1 misdemeanor. Because right now it's only an order of a protective order, so it only could be held in contempt of court, which is maximum of 10 days. Doesn't teach anybody anything. And usually when you have a permanent child protective order against the parents with regard to a child, they've done something seriously bad to get them in this position.
I was going to ask.
So I just said, let's make it a crime and finalize it. That way it's up to 12 months in jail, 6 months to serve. And each violation is a new criminal act. That way the children are protected from the parent that has a child protective order, can't be with them because they've abused them, sees them on the side of the road, starts screaming at them or does something to them. If that happens, I think it's even, affordable that I'm saying it's a misdemeanor. I mean, it is something that we need to fix in the code, and the Democrats today were not willing to protect children. And so it was very disappointing. Got my second bill out, or my third bill out. The first one really was just about prisoners who sue. And, the Democrats hate that, so they killed that. The third bill was, we in the Commonwealth of Virginia, believe it or not, and most of the states throughout the United States, allow children to access the internet, use the internet to access pornography, which you and I, all three of us as parents, have certainly most believe is not the proper way, that we should not let children have unfettered access of pornography on the internet. So my bill basically said that all those pornography sites like YouPorn and Pornhub, that they would have to put on the front, if you typed in that URL address, they'd have to have a verification that you, if you're going to use the site, have to verify your income, have to verify your age. And when you verify your age, then you're allowed access to the site. If you're under the age of 18, you have no such access. One would think that this is so important that we should protect our children from pornography on the internet, that you would have thought it would have been an easy bill to pass. Now, we had one Democrat dissenting saying it's unconstitutional, but if we are our parents, and we as Virginians create prohibitions from children to go into the liquor store if they're under the age of 21 and buy liquor or buy cigarettes, or almost everything, we make them validate who they are and their identity and their age. Why are we not trying it on the internet to protect these children from things that, quite frankly, studies have shown 40% of children 10 years old have accessed pornography on the internet?
Wow.
Studies have shown that pornography and exposure to young brains at that time harms their relationship development. It has problems with body shaming, with their own belief and their own belief of who they are. And quite frankly, is, as we all know, when we see pornography, it's usually depicting something that is degrading to the human relationship between a man or a woman, or the two people involved in whatever that scene is. So why wouldn't we not keep that from our children in Virginia, especially when there's an easy fix, when the porn sites can put a filter on? Because my bill says if you don't put the filter on and a child accesses that pornography and there's damages that arise from that, then they can be sued. Guess what? That filter goes on as quick as it can be. And there's a law already in one state, Louisiana, that has that now. It's working very effectively. And quite frankly, this should have been done a long time ago. In committee today, it went out, but it had some Democrat resistance. It goes to the floor on tomorrow. We're going to have to work it through. But I thought that was a really big step on behalf of us. I was pretty surprised how the Democrats really did not think this was an automatic. I thought that would have been the easiest bill that I've ever tried to pass. Keep children away from pornography before the age of 18 and keep them off the internet from that. I argued even in the committee today that the internet has great capabilities. It can educate us. It can help children who might not otherwise have access to a world-class education get that. But it can also allow a pedophile into your house without ever coming through the front door. And so this is one of those things where you don't have the access of the children to pornography that may encourage such an act to happen. And we can stop child trafficking and sex trafficking by making sure that only adults are accessing these sites. So I was kind of surprised that we got some resistance. It did pass the committee. It's up in the Senate tomorrow, and we'll get it through. But an amazing thing that we see, which is most of the argument was, well, how can this bill protect the LGBTQ? Is this going to harm the LGBTQ community? And my answer was, it's pornography. It's pornography, whether it's heterosexual sex, homosexual sex, pedophilia, bestiality, whatever it is, it's still pornography. Why are we, the Democrats seem so concerned about protecting the LGBT community from a very basic bill that I wrote that said you cannot allow children in Virginia to access, if they're under the age of 18, pornography on the internet. That seemed to be their concern. So I was blown away by that today. Hopefully the bill will pass. We'll see what happens. But that was my big day, and those were my last bills there. And then I had some other bills passed on the floor.
I'm probably going to get in trouble for bringing this up with you on here because I know some things we probably shouldn't talk about. But so I've been, as you know, working really hard, making contacts and networking as it relates to my campaign for Senate. Today I was in Capron, Cortland, Franklin, Suffolk, Windsor, Waverly. I mean, I made a loop around.
Wow.
Meeting business owners.
We're talking about your campaign.
Yeah. Sometimes I go knock doors, talk to constituents. Today I had a series of meetings set up with small business owners to try to connect and network with business owners, me telling them why I'm running and what I plan to do for small businesses and government overreach and things that we talk about.
How'd that go?
Good. All very good. But one of the time, during the course of the morning and even a little bit last night, I got a series of phone calls about a bill related to the proposed casino in Petersburg. And so
did I.
People were calling me as like, hey, did you know about so-and-so's bill for the casino in Petersburg and da, da, da. So I said, no, I'm out of that, whatever. Yeah. But so today I got a few more calls and this and that and the other. So the moral of the story is Richmond had an opportunity on a referendum on a casino.
Right.
It did not pass.
Yeah, the voters voted it down.
The voters voted it down. Mm-hmm. So now there are some legislators, including your friend Joe Morrissey, I believe, and another group, that are trying to afford that same opportunity to Petersburg.
And Kim Taylor, who's a Republican in Petersburg, won an upset election, helped us get the majority in the House. Mm-hmm. She's carrying the House version of Joe Morrissey's bill. Now, Joe Morrissey's bill died by one vote in the Finance Committee, which would have allowed Petersburg to have a referendum and perhaps have a casino. Kim Taylor's bill actually passed out of the House, which would allow, or is getting ready to pass out of the House. They're having the vote, actually.
Yeah.
And that's probably why you were getting the call.
So anyway, and maybe you can help explain this to me a little bit better, but I was trying to deal with all that in the mix of everything else I was doing. But basically, in a nutshell, the way I understand it is, I live in Emporia, and as we speak, there is a Rosie's being built in Emporia,
right,
which is about less than 100 yards away from one of my convenience stores that I have 3 skill games operating. Mm-hmm. We're able to operate because of our lawsuit. If it hadn't been for our lawsuit, those skill games would have been turned off, in July of 2021, going on 2 years now. Okay. So anyway, Rosie's is building this building in Emporia. And we have learned through the course of our lawsuit that Rosie's and their investors and their lobbyists started out kind of behind the curtain, but ultimately had to come out front and admit to they were some of the people that were pushing Ralph Northam to sign that bill,
SB 972,
to ban skill games, to take revenue and business away from small businesses and give it to the casinos in the form of a monopoly. Is that okay?
You're absolutely correct.
So Rosie's was coming to Emporia, and they were, and still are, trying to, in my opinion, bulldoze their way into Emporia and other areas of the state, and to be damned with all the small businesses that will be collateral damage from a loss of revenue, loss of business, unlevel government, unlevel playing field, forget about the free market system. All these things didn't matter to Rosie's.
No.
They didn't care at all. But now, as these things have developed with these other casinos, and there is a chance that this casino could potentially be built in Petersburg, which is closer to Emporia than Richmond, guess what? Now, Rosie's is worried that
Rosie's of Emporia.
No, right. Rosie's in Emporia is concerned that, wow, there could be another business built in Petersburg to compete with us that might take some of our revenue.
30 minutes
How can that be?
Right.
Not 100 yards from your business. They didn't care about that.
30 minutes away by highway.
So why is Rosie's not worried about what they have done to small businesses and their livelihoods and their families and workers and things, but they want to be protected from a potential casino being built in Petersburg?
You want the irony? The irony of that is that Rosie's is now telling, and this is what you and I talked about in this podcast for a year, is that when you allow these casinos to plant the flag, then they start controlling local government and local business. And that's a part of the monopoly. That's a part of their strategy. What you saw here is, so Petersburg wants a casino to help revitalize their economy. Richmond voted it down. This is one of, remember, 6 places they can put a casino, so they want that referendum. They're just asking for the ability to allow their people to vote for it. But Rosie's, owned by Churchill Downs now, not Colonial Downs, Churchill Downs, which is a major casino operator, then has gotten all of the local government officials in your city, Emporia, calling up here at the General Assembly here in Richmond, demanding that they don't pass the Petersburg bill because it may cost Rosie's in Emporia, when they get set up, $2 million a year. Based on speculation, they even said, "Oh, it's found in the JLARC report." I've looked through that thing; I can't find it. And what they're basing their position in, and we're going to lose $2 million, which is tax revenue to Emporia, if there's a casino 30 minutes away. The irony is, Hermie, is that what they're trying to do, and the unions are trying to do, is to force, because the unions don't like the operator of what would be the casino there, because they fight and try to bust up the unions. They don't play along with them. Is they wanted to go back into Richmond. They want the casino back into Richmond. They think a second vote, the voters will vote it up, and they'll have that Richmond casino. But their argument that Emporia is making, that it's going to hurt Rosie's because 30 miles away, 30 minutes away by highway in Petersburg, there may be a casino, is destroyed by the fact that if you go with the casino in Richmond, there's an operating Rosie's here on Midlothian Turnpike.
Right.
Less than 30 minutes away.
Mm-hmm.
But that's their argument. And now they're kind of squeezing local politicians, local state officials, local delegates and senators, and saying, you just can't let this happen because it will cost Rosie's $2 million. Cost Rosie's $2 million? That's what you're worried about?
So the leaders in my town, you're telling me, are concerned about Rosie's potential revenue being hurt by a potential casino in Petersburg. But I don't ever recall them being concerned about the revenue that small businesses in our area were going to lose when Rosie's came to town and pushed for a monopoly.
That's a good point.
So how do you pick and choose when you worry about the businesses in your communities?
That's a great question.
Either you are or you aren't.
Well, you know what? We have a local expert. We have a local government official right here on the podcast, Shep Miles, who can tell us. I mean, why are we having this kind of push-pull going on right now where a casino that won't even be in the area of Emporia is being advocated against because they think that might hurt the other monopolistic casino interest, Rosie's, that are planting a flag in Emporia? When in fact, the alternative is they go to Richmond. If the casino goes not to Petersburg but goes to Richmond, when it goes to Richmond, it's even closer than a Rosie's
Right.
establishment.
Well, Bill, I think on the local level, most local politicians, or all that I know of, they're not full-time professional politicians.
We're not either.
They don't have, I don't think they have the training and the understanding as a senator would have. And I think it's a lot easier to put pressure on them and to give them smoke and mirrors, because to be honest with you, I think most local politicians and a lot of localities just phone it in anyway. I just don't think
Really?
they do their due diligence to get educated
don't you
on
think-
these issues.
Don't you think it kind of belies that maybe once Emporia made the decision to allow Rosie's in, they've sold out to Rosie's. So when Rosie's comes to that
absolutely.
local government official and says, you got to stop this because we're going to lose $2 million, which means you're going to lose what, $150,000 in tax revenue, that they are on the phone calling local legislators and actually pinning them into corners because they're doing the bidding of Rosie's. To me, that's a real problem. And quite frankly, it interferes with the good order of business up here. Why isn't it? Richmond voted it down. Why isn't Petersburg entitled to the ability to see if they want one there?
My
whether
problem
it's built or not.
through the whole process, and you know this, we've lived and breathed this thing, built that going on 3 years.
God, you're not
3 years.
I mean,
And I'm just like, we cannot continue as a government in the Commonwealth of Virginia to allow these out-of-state special interests to run our government. The casinos cannot be allowed to create the legislation by which they're going to be governed. So, I mean, I live in Emporia. I love Emporia. I employ hundreds of people in Emporia. I am probably, until Rosie's get there, arguably the biggest tax revenue creator and payer in the city of Emporia and Greensville County. But I don't understand why my city leaders would be worried about revenue being hurt from a potential local business now when they were not worried about it when they were trying to get on the front page of the paper and jumping up and down and say, look, we're bringing Rosie's in here. They've already got every advantage in the book. Tax breaks, you name it, incentives, bring them in,
Sure.
whatever. They didn't give, excuse my language, two about all the, and I'm not talking about just mine. I'm talking about all the surrounding businesses, restaurants, bars, taverns, truck stops, not just in Emporia, but surrounding areas all around the Commonwealth of Virginia. It was never one thought given to, you know what? Bringing this casino in, if we're going to give them a monopoly and take away from these people to give to these people, it might really hurt these small businesses that are the backbones of these economies. But we never heard a peep about it.
No.
So
It's all
now,
about Rosie's.
Now, Rosie's is, whoa, it's me. Mm-hmm. We're coming to Emporia to save the city. We're going to save the city of Emporia, and we're going to generate all this revenue, and we're going to hire all these people. But we'll never make it if Petersburg is allowed to build a casino 35 miles away.
don't you think it's casinos and Rosie's kind of picking and choosing where they will be and where they won't be?
Sure.
And they don't care about small business. They don't care about small government. They want to dominate. The easiest government to dominate, whether it's Churchill Downs or the casinos, is the local government.
That's what I say.
In the same way, when we had the previous podcast, when Governor Youngkin said, I'm not going to allow the Chinese Communist Party to put a battery factory in Danville, because that with the 2,500 jobs still could have allowed the Chinese to manipulate and influence local government and the community there. That was a great decision on his part. The same thing, I think, is the chickens are coming home to roost here, which is what we're seeing is in this monopolistic attitude of casinos, and Rosie's is casinos, just, their stepbrother, is they're now controlling what the local government does and say and how the local government tries to influence the state government. To me, that is exactly what we talked about, coming home to roost, and we're paying a price for it. And right now, we're in flux right now. You'd think Petersburg should have an opportunity, as poor as it has become because of bad government decisions, to have a casino, or at least determine for themselves. But no, the casinos and Rosie's don't want it in Petersburg. They want it in Richmond. So they lie to Emporia's officials and say, well, 30 miles away, we're going to lose money. When in the same breath, when they work with the unions, we want it in Richmond, even though right there on Midlothian Turnpike, it's 5 or 10 minutes away. That's not the concern, but it makes us look like fools. It makes us at the local level, especially in Southside and Southwest West Virginia, look like we're pliable, that we're easily manipulated, that our opinions are for sale.
It just boils down.
Disgusting.
It just boils down to me that, and this has been an ongoing, and it's one of the main reasons that I've decided to run for office, is that these people, not all, but some of these people, they change on a daily basis. What do they really stand for?
Yeah.
What do they really, in their heart, what's important to them?
Money.
So,
But they I always make the joke in politics, I can't be bought, but I can be rented. But these are sellouts. Governments, not individuals, in my opinion, are selling out to the person that brings them the shiny object and says, I'll make your life better. And you blindly believe them so that when some other town across the way, some other city across the way has an opportunity, they're going to try to monopolize that within the local government where they're at and try to prevent that other city from being a participant. You've got Kim Taylor, a Republican, like I said, upset election. She's carrying that bill, and they're doing everything to ruin her on this bill because they don't want her reelected again, and they want to control where these casinos go. Now, that's politics and business and local government mixing in ways that it should not happen, and it's happening now in Virginia.
Just stood on the sidelines because I'm not involved in it directly, and I've decided not to interject myself into it, but
You shouldn't.
you can understand why I would sit there and say, well, Rosie's, how about that? That doesn't feel so good, does it? For somebody to just maybe come in and swoop in and
Well, didn't you have that argument in front of this very city council?
I sure
that maybe
did.
putting pressure on
I sure
legislators
did.
here in Richmond about
sure
this?
did.
And what did you tell them?
I went to the city council. So the day after the referendum passed for Rosie's to come to Emporia, local officials from Emporia came to my office and said, because they knew I had my ongoing lawsuit. And by the way, I feel compelled to say this every time we talk about my lawsuit. Although the issue or the subject is skill games, I'm involved in this litigation because I quite frankly do not believe that the government should be picking winners and losers and deciding who gets to operate what kind of business. And more importantly, the government should not be taken from small businesses and give it to industries where out-of-state special interests are lobbying our General Assembly to give them a different set of rules. Anyway, I just believe in the free market system. I believe in fair government, and I believe in capitalism and equal opportunity for everybody. But I also understand that majority wins. So majority on the referendum, majority won. So we got Rosie's coming to Emporia. The day after the referendum, some city officials come to my office and they say, Hermie, are you going to support Rosie's coming to Emporia? And I said, no. And they said, why? And I said, what I'd rather do instead of talking to y'all in my office, I'd rather come to city council with the lights on and the cameras and the recordings and everybody up there. And I'll tell you why. So I went into this whole thing about the free market system and how competition makes businesses better. I said, my grandfather got killed when my dad was 30 years old. And that left my dad with one delivery truck and one service station and a whole lot of unknowns and no dad. And he had to figure out real quick whether to sink or swim. And my dad built our business all these years under the free market system, capitalism. And by that, I mean, if you have an idea, you go borrow money, you build a building, you hire the best people you can, you train them the best you can, you keep your prices competitive, keep your bathrooms clean, and you compete. And if you win, then you go try somewhere else and do the whole process over again. That's how my dad built our business, location after location. He didn't have a monopoly on anything. He didn't have a different set of rules to go by. He did it by the old-fashioned free market system way. And so that's important to me. It's important to protect. It should be important to everybody if you think about it. So I go through this whole spiel at city council talking about the free market system and the importance and how all these businesses in our area were built this way. So anyway, one of the people on city council stands up after that little speech and says, you know what, Mr. Sadler, appreciate you coming to speak. But what you don't realize is starting pay for an entry-level job for Rosie's when they come to Emporia is going to be $15 an hour. And that's good pay for the city of Emporia. And I said, you know what? You're exactly right. And I've got a deal for y'all tonight. He said, what's that? I said, if y'all will go as city council, go to the General Assembly in Richmond and lobby them on behalf of Sadler Brothers Oil Company to let us have a monopoly on selling gas in Emporia and Greensville County. If you get that done, I'll pay everybody entry-level jobs $30 an hour.
Wow.
And she said, well, how are you going to do that? I said, same way Rosie's is. If you give me a monopoly on gas
You'll be able to do it.
I can charge whatever I want for my gas because I don't have to worry about the guy across the street or next town or across the interstate, whatever. I've got a captive audience that the government gave me. Thank you very much. And by the way, not only that, once these people come into my store, being that I'm the only place that the government says they can go buy gas, I charge whatever I want for my hot dogs and my hamburgers and my potato chips and drinks. I've got the market cornered because the government gave it to me. How about that? And the lady said, well, I hadn't really thought about it like that. I said, well, that's what I've been trying to tell y'all for 3 years. You are, as a government, deciding where people are supposed to go to spend their money when they're supposed to be able to pick that. And so they just, most of the city leaders in my area, they just want to be able to get on the front page of the paper and say, look what we did. But they will not ever want to talk about the other, number one, how the government had to act and react to get to that point. But you'll never hear them talking about the collateral damage of what places like that will do to a town like ours. And I guarantee you'll never see them follow up with all the forecast that these casino people tell them when they come to town. You'll never hear another thing about all that. And it's just unfortunate.
Well, and I bet that the people who are elected in the legislature here in Virginia that they're leaning on, that if they got them to vote their way, that they're demanding on behalf of Rosie's, that does not somehow unlock the door and suddenly these elected officials in Emporia are going to support the elected officials in their reelection.
So, Hermie, why do you think it passed in Emporia?
Because city council, I'm convinced, even with, I just decided I was going to stay out of it. The day of the election, and they did it in a misleading fashion, in my view, because it didn't have Rosie's, it had pari-mutuel betting. And city council had people at every polling location giving out flyers and handouts to all these people that didn't even know what pari-mutuel betting meant, said, this is going to generate 100 jobs and hundreds of thousands of dollars of tax revenue to the city of Emporia. Boom. If I'd have been
for our listeners, though, what's pari-mutuel betting? That's horse racing.
Horse racing.
Yeah. Which is not even what Rosie's is.
Not. That's what they go under.
Yeah.
That's not what it is.
I mean, we had pari-mutuel, Colonial Downs, satellite offices, and those failed. This was, Rosie's came in under the auspices of saying, we just want to have historic horse racing games. And what it'll be on the video game terminal is a horse race, because there are hundreds, a week in the United States. No one will know where the track is, and you can bet on the horse based on some of the odds given about the horse. So they were going to be basically watching historic horse races and then betting on those. That never, ever, when Rosie's came in, has been the center point and the centerpiece of Rosie's mini casinos. In fact, you can't find one of those games, I don't think, in my opinion. You see, they put horse racing pictures on the side of these video game terminals, but they use that as a ruse to get inside and open the door. I mean, that opened the door, Shep, to gambling in Virginia. That was the first step, and since then, now they're just mini casinos. They're mini VGT video game terminal halls. And they run it like a mini casino in the smaller satellite areas around what would be the big casinos. But the big casinos and Rosie's want to control where they are, so they maximize revenue rather than maximizing opportunity maybe for a city like Petersburg to actually have a casino and make some money and maybe change their economic forecast.
So what I heard you say a little while ago, I think I'm correct in this. Richmond voted it down by referendum. Mm-hmm. Petersburg is even being denied for it to be put on a referendum.
Petersburg has applied to the Virginia General Assembly to have the same footing that Richmond had last year.
So why would a bill fail to allow people of a city or community or locality to have freedom of choice? Well, why would that even fail?
That is a great question, Shep. Here's why. Because the unions have come in and said, kill the Petersburg referendum for casinos. Because they don't like the operator that would operate if they got the contract in Petersburg. Petersburg made a preliminary contract with a company they don't like. So on top of that, though, because they know the big casinos want one in Richmond, They want it there. They're not satisfied with the voters coming out and saying, no casino in our area. That should have been it. They want to relitigate it and have another vote because they think if they pour more money into Richmond, because they will control Richmond and they get the casino in there, they'll control it all. And so what you're seeing now is the manipulation of the casino industry, of government, and of the voter, and of the areas. This is where when you let the bear into your kitchen, the bear's going to eat what it wants from whatever cupboard, and it will never be satiated. It will never be full. And this is what you're seeing now. This is being played out right now. For those that know, Hermie and I know, I mean, we watched this. We've been, as you said, immersed in this thing almost going on 3 years now. Yeah. This is the bear in your kitchen going through your cupboard. Pretty soon you have no control. You just let the bear eat what it wants in your kitchen. Heck, if you're sitting in the living room and the bear says, hey, I want you to make me some eggs, you'll make them some eggs just to keep them
in
from
a nutshell,
messing
in
everything
layman's
up.
terms, when Rosie's came to Emporia, part of their whole plan, as part the reason why we've got our ongoing litigation, like clear the deck for Rosie's coming to Emporia.
Right.
Wipe out everybody else's business. We want a monopoly. We want nobody else to be able to compete with us when we come to Emporia. And that's basically what if it hadn't been for our lawsuit, they would have gotten that 3 years ago. But now,
Yeah, we are the stick in the spoke of the wheel.
We are the stick in the spoke. Right. And now, a couple years later, the tables are turned, and they're like, what?
We need help.
We need help. These people are going to take our revenue, take our business from us. It cannot happen. Please help us. I'm like,
you said we'd be the only bear in the fridge.
And then the city leaders in Emporia, they've been put in a corner where they've got to try to help Rosie.
Why do they have to?
Well, only because to save face. Only to save their face, Senator,
I don't
because
buy
they're
that
the
at all.
ones that were voted for them to bring in.
Rosie's made the decision to come to Emporia. Okay? Emporia voters voted to allow Rosie's to set up shop. But Rosie's, from that moment on, should work on its own business model and capitalism and the free market system and not lean on the government, the local government, to then lead on the state government
And to prop
to
them
keep from having competition 30 miles away. I mean, that makes no sense. What it shows is total domination, world domination, baby. It's world domination at the local level. I mean, look, Shep, if there was a casino proposal or a Rosie's proposal in South Heel, then you would be dealing with the same problem. And you'd be getting the lobbyists and the pressure. And then I'm sure Rosie's is telling Emporia's leaders, I'm guessing, this is speculation based on just knowing politics as I do. They're going, well, look, we're investing all this money in Emporia right now. And, if we think we're going to lose $2 million, well, maybe we'll just pull back and not finish the Rosie's Emporium here in Emporia.
imagine having a business plan.
I mean, that's extortion, dude.
Imagine
political, environmental, economic extortion. No business should be allowed to do that.
Imagine having a business plan, and your business plan, you're only confident in it
on a monopoly.
If you have a monopoly and everybody else gets shut down before you get there.
Shep Moss says to me all the time, I'm the hottest guy at any party that I DJ until the other guys come in. So if he could keep the guys out of the party, he'd be it. And that's what Rosie's is doing. By analogy. but seriously,
I don't remember saying that.
If you're the only game in town and you control the town to make sure that you're the only game in town. I mean, it sounds like Deadwood. It sounds like the Wild West when the casinos and the saloons ran the government, ran the town, ran the sheriff's department. We're getting back to the wild, wild west of gambling, and we did it to ourselves, man. Virginia, we had no clue what we were doing. We opened the friggin' door, and the bear is in our kitchen eating our stuff.
I got one question for you.
No.
I've
had too many questions today. But go ahead.
How is Rosie's going to blame this on skill games? Because I know it's coming.
That's a good one, buddy. They're gonna
find a way.
Well, they're gonna say, part of this $2 million is the chipping away of the skill games. I'm sure
there's got to be a way that they're going to come back and say, if it wasn't for that damn Sadler and Stanley and them skill games, that casino wouldn't be built in Petersburg.
But here's the problem with their argument: they may deflect by trying to also make that a part of their argument. But remember, these are two thieves in the jewelry store blaming the other.
Oh, yeah.
These are the guys with the jewelry, the smash and grab, and they're like, well, he took more. Well, I can't. He needs to be over there in those shelves and taking those jewels, not the jewels I'm taking. You're talking about what looks to be, this is a local issue in Emporia. We need to keep this to make sure that Rosie's is most profitable. Well, Rosie's, in my opinion, is laughing all the way to the bank because they're all in cahoots together. The casinos and Rosie's have made a deal of how to carve Virginia. Who's getting played are the politicians at the local level. Who's getting played are the politicians that are forcing at the local level, forcing politicians at the state level in the House of Delegates and Senate to go, oh my God, am I doing something wrong for allowing Petersburg to have a voice or a casino? It might hurt Emporia. That's BS, man. It's total horse hockey. What you're seeing is what we just talked about 10 minutes ago. It's the casinos running it all.
So
and Rosie's is casinos, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, they're Chicago operation, but
so the people of Petersburg aren't good enough to actually have a vote, whether they get it or not, because the referendum, it's not going to get to a referendum. That's pretty sad. Or one bill has been killed.
To me, it's just an overall frustration, and Bill just said it, that our government should be run, what's the saying, by and for the people?
Sure.
by the people, for the people.
Okay. Of, by, and for the people.
That it's the government that serves the people and not the other way around.
And these out-of-state special interests, these casinos, are manipulating and pushing and bullying politicians around at the local and the state level to get exactly what they want. And I, for one, am proud to stand beside Senator Stanley and to say that's not what Virginia is about. That shouldn't be what the United States is about.
It's not right.
And it's not right.
It's not fair.
And so, you know, there's people that throw darts and bows and arrows at me all day, every day, because they think I'm advocating for gambling. I said the other day on the John Reed show, you called me afterwards.
Yeah.
I told him, I said, take all the skill gains.
WRVA here in Richmond, that's a radio show that you went on to.
I said, take all the skill gains and throw them in the Atlantic Ocean, but take all the casinos with you. Because the problem is, y'all are the ones, meaning the General Assembly, the Commonwealth of Virginia, y'all are the ones decided that we had to have all these casinos come in. And now you're allowing them to come in, and now you're letting them create and dictate the laws in which they're going to be operated under, which, by the way, is a different set of laws than all the other small businesses in these communities are operating, and it just can't happen.
And Shep, let me tell you something. Transparency is greatest when it has the most light pouring down upon it. What you're seeing with this light coming down, as much as they try to hide it in the process of legislation, as much as they try to say most people don't pay attention to this stuff, so they're not watching me when I make these decisions. You're seeing politician by politician, most of whom are worried about their reelection or a primary they're facing, or a general election where an incumbent Democrat faces an incumbent Republican, where they're maximizing in their minds, not on what's right for the area, but what's going to help me get reelected, or maybe help me get more funds to help me get reelected. It's the corruption, absolutely, that's occurring. It is absolute corruption in terms of allowing a large corporation to come in my opinion, dominate a local government, make them so dependent on the promise. Remember, that Rosie's is not even an operation in Emporia. The promise of what this may be in the future, that it could cost $2 million, and then all these city council members are calling up people, you can't let this happen.
Well, they put all the eggs in one basket.
And what is sad is that if they thought about this because they want to force the casinos back to Richmond, like we said, well, then the Rosie's argument crumbles because less than 10 minutes away from where that casino would be is where Rosie's is already up and running.
Well, Bill, don't you think the
Give me a break. I mean, are we really lemmings here as a local government, as the people? Because they're creating fear. You're going to lose $2 million. It's not you, Emporia, that's going to lose $2 million.
It's Rosie's.
It's Rosie's. Come on.
I just wish.
And Rosie's ain't worried about losing $2 million in Richmond if they got one in Midlothian and they get the Richmond casino. Because they're all working together.
These people, when you get the honor of being voted by the people of the Commonwealth of Virginia to come to Richmond to serve them as being a delegate or a senator.
Yeah.
I would think, and I can tell you that if I get the opportunity to represent the 17th, anytime I get confronted with something or asked something, the first thing that should always be asked is this the right thing for my district?
Yeah.
Is this the right thing for my area?
Every time.
Every time. You have to ask that
Not,
question.
is this
first.
right for me to get reelected?
Not, is this going to help me get reelected?
Correct.
Is this going to now or indirectly get me a campaign donation down the road? It's got to be, is this the right thing for the people that elected me to go to Richmond to represent them?
Yeah.
And then if you everybody's going to make mistakes, make bad decisions, but I and you, I'm sure you too, you can lay your head on the pillow at night, even if you have bad days, if you've governed or tried to legislate in a way that you feel like honestly and truthfully is what is best for the area of the people that elected you, Bill Stanley,
Yep.
to come represent them.
Well, that's it.
And
That's really it.
That's a lost art. It seems to me
It's a lost
to be a lost art in Richmond. And it's really, really frustrating.
Well, and you see it right now because we have redistricting. We have 61 seats and maybe facing each other, either in Republican primary, Democrat primary, or general elections, incumbents. We're seeing it bubbling up now. People are worried about themselves who are elected here in the House and Senate. Not all of them, but some of them. And it's overriding their good judgment for what's right for Virginia. That's when politics fails. That's what we're seeing. And this is just a microcosm of other issues. This is what we faced before. This is what we're facing now. And I'm a little disconcerted. I'm a little worried because, if you're running because you want to be called senator, and I've said it before, then you're running for the wrong reason. If you're running for your area to be their voice and to fight for them every day you're up here, then you're doing it for the right reason. But when you get up here and these special interests starts getting in your ear and they say, hey, we're going to make your election better and we're going to support you and we're going to do all this stuff. We're going to get on your big board at the winery and look at us and the casinos are at the top of the list. We gave you $25,000. Then they come back to you and they say, hey, man, you got to make sure that this X doesn't happen to Y. And suddenly you didn't intend it to happen, but you're now paying attention to what their needs are rather than the needs of your constituents. That's when you should leave. That's when you're done. That's when you should be held accountable. Otherwise, don't come here. Don't be here and don't fight for your area. Just roll into the General Assembly wearing a fire suit with everybody who paid for you to get there.
Yeah.
All your sponsors, and say, my vote here on the Rosie's bill. I want to thank Churchill Downs. I want to thank all as you used to support your sponsors by saying, this car was fast. Well, that's what's going on right now, man.
And I get asked a lot now that I'm campaigning for office, and I love the question because a lot of politicians get let off the hook by saying a bunch of stuff, but people never really ask them, what would you have done different? What would you have done? And I can easily sit here today and say, if I had been sitting state senator representing the 17th district that included Emporia Greensville 2-3 years ago when Rosie's wanted to come to town,
Yeah.
I would have gotten Rosie's officials, Emporia officials, members of my team, and some other elected officials around town sit at the table and say, okay, Rosie's wants to come. Let's discuss and understand the parameters by which we think them coming to Emporia will be a mutually beneficial proposition for the area. It would not have been cutting out business and revenue from small business. It would not have been a severely reduced tax rate maybe for our area. It would have been a discussion about, okay, Rosie's, if you want to be good business partners in the community, step up and help me get this other thing done. The skill games in these other places, we want just a couple agreed upon number in convenience stores, agreed upon number in truck stops and restaurants, fairly taxed and regulated, use the revenue for our schools, get rid of illegal gaming. All this is going to help you. You come to bat with us, we'll go to bat for you. But these officials that we've had and we've got, They see Rosie's coming in like they're the knight in shining armor.
Right.
And they're like, whatever you want.
It's a false flag.
Whatever you want. Y'all are going to save us.
Yep.
And you just can't go into any negotiation with the underhand. You got to be on level footing with these people. But we get easily manipulated in areas like at ours, and the ground rules have got to be set from day one.
Yeah.
You can't let people come in and start the process. And once you start behind in a negotiation, you stay behind.
Well, Shep, those with the gold make the rules. And the government don't have the gold. It's the casinos. It's Rosie's.
Well, don't you think the same situation is starting to percolate on marijuana sales that's coming? It's going to be the exact same thing.
We have opened the door
Potentially.
to all the vices, except for prostitution, heroin. And we even had a bill today by Senator Hashmi that creates a psilocybin, a mushroom commission, to study the benefits of Psilocybin mycetes, which are psychedelic mushrooms. Are you kidding me? To legalize it.
Wow.
These are the bills that are coming through right now. I mean, we just shake our heads like, are you freaking kidding me? What you're seeing is a complete abrogation of the responsibilities. Like we talked about the porn bill. I mean, how is not protecting our greatest natural resource, children, our highest priority? Should not be along party lines. You're seeing bills that are coming through right now. We're going to talk about one in a little while because we're going to talk about Chinese balloons and Chinese investment in our state. Or why aren't the Democrats protecting Virginia and its citizens from threats that want to kill us? Chinese people are the Chinese Communist Party are bringing fentanyl across our border, trying to kill. They've now brought enough fentanyl across the border to kill every single one of us like 3 times over.
Oh, yeah.
They're sending balloons across. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. But what I want to finish up with you, Herm, is so how's your campaign going?
Well, I want to make one more comment. You don't mind?
No. Let me hit the stop button.
I can only imagine.
Shep's in charge. You can go ahead.
And I mean this in a respectful way to all the people in the Senate on the Republican side. I can only imagine how frustrating it has to be.
It's brutal
to sit there and watch all this trash come through and push through,
and you can't stop.
And ain't a damn thing you can do about it. So
the only thing that you have is the backstop is the House that has Republican control. That's it.
That's what I try to tell people.
For 2 years, we did not have that. We watched a monumental shift in Virginia politics, policy, criminal justice reform just ruin our state in many ways.
I tell people every day, Republicans have to get the Senate back.
Yep.
To get that back, I believe we have to have different types of candidates that can draw interest and energize the Republican base to bring attention to these Senate races in Virginia to try to win this majority back in the Senate.
Totally.
Because it is such a frustrating thing, whether you're sitting there or whether me sometimes watching at work, this stuff go down. I can only imagine. It's just so
well, you watch it every day.
There's nothing you can do.
And it's pretty frustrating.
Yeah, it is.
We sit there.
And in a court of law, and that's what I tell people all the time about this thing with casinos. I'm like, if I were you, I wouldn't listen to a lobbyist, a casino lobbyist. I wouldn't listen to people from Rosie's. I wouldn't listen to people from the casinos. If you want information, I would refer to what the judge has ruled in our court case.
3 times.
There's no bias in that, and no, look at that if you want. So,
but Hermie, every single bill that's coming through the Senate with the Democrats in control is relating to LGBTQ plus ampersand minus sign issues. Everything that they're worried about is not offending this transsexual, transgression, whatever, trans group. To the point where I make a simple bill that says, let's put filters on porn sites at the internet to make sure our kids in Virginia do not access them. And they're more worried about whether my bill offends the LGBTQ plus or minus sign community.
Instead of
Where
protecting
the hell
the
are
kid.
your priorities? Do you care about the dude that wants to wear a dress and call himself Barbie? Or are you worried about young children because they're the future of Virginia? That shows you how far they've gone from caring about what used to be where we all could agree. which is protecting Virginia citizens, doing what's right for Virginia businesses, doing what's right for our communities and local governments. It's all been, there's obstructionism now, which is based on philosophy, a failed philosophy of socialism and creating 37 genders rather than actually protecting children from pornography. And I said to the panel tonight, or this morning, I don't think there's one parent on this panel that thinks exposing their children to internet pornography or allowing their children to access it when they're under the age of 18 is a good idea in Virginia.
And they said,
well, yeah. And they're like, well, what about the LGBTQ committee? I'm like, or community. I said, pornography is pornography, whether it's heterosexual or homosexual or pedophilia or bestiality. It's pornography. Nobody should be exposed to that. Okay? And they're like, well, isn't this a parent concern? Parents can't do it all. I mean, if that was the case, then we don't need to do IDs at the ABC store. Just let the 10-year-old come and get himself a bottle of vodka. The government sets up the guardrails and said, this is accessible and this isn't. I even said, back when there was a Blockbuster, well, kids couldn't access the pornography section. Now it's much easier. But we can put safeguards that say to the porn companies, you expose children and it affects them negatively, which is actionable, then you're going to be held liable for civil damages. Well, guess what? When they see that law, boom, they put up a filter. It's all over. But this is how small-minded Democrats have now become. They're worried about special interests rather than all of Virginia. And this goes from casinos to pornography to books to CRT to the education of children in public schools. It's nonstop, dude. And it's really kind of upsetting. And that's why the Senate, as you just said, needs to go back to Republican control next year.
You asked me how my campaign was doing?
Yeah.
I want to play you. I showed you the video, but I'm going to play you. Audio of we taped a series of commercials 2 weeks ago at my home down in Emporia.
Did they have you on a box so you look taller when they filmed you? Okay.
I did.
They did that to me.
There will be a series of commercials come out over the next 4 to 6 weeks on different topics and things of that nature. But I want to play the audio of that here if you don't mind.
Please. Let's hear it, ladies and gentlemen.
On the track, all that matters is winning the race and putting it all on the line to get results. I think career politicians could learn a thing or two from the track. These days, we see establishment politicians run the same old circles. They waste our money with no focus on results. They sell out to special interests, and they leave we the people in the dust. I'm Hermie Sadler, and I'm running to represent you in the Virginia Senate. I'm not a politician. I'm a business owner. I'm a dad to 3 girls, and I used to do some racing myself. Southside Virginia is my home, and I am fed up with Richmond insiders rigging the game against our families and our small businesses. I stood up to the Richmond special interest, and I won for the little guys. If you send me to Richmond to be your senator, there'll be no more indoctrination in our schools. I'll protect the Second Amendment, and I'll defend the unborn. And above all else, I'll always tell it like it is and work for you, the people.
Wow.
Wow, that's very impressive.
What do you think?
Very impressive.
Yeah. And
That's
the video is even better.
So we've got a series of spots coming out to reach out to our constituents in the 17th as we continue to push.
Tell me what's going on with your campaign.
Yeah,
just keep us up to date.
I can honestly say, some days are better than others, just like days you have over here in Richmond. But I can honestly say that I'm working really hard to enjoy the process. I've gotten to talk to so many people that I never would have met.
Pretty great, isn't it?
If I had not done this.
Yeah.
People go knocking on complete strangers' doors and going in the house and having a 20 or 30-minute conversation. I had a lady last week, probably in her mid-50s or so, and the husband sitting there started talking about me running, and the lady just started bawling. Just started crying.
Wow.
About how important it was in her mind for somebody not a politician to go to Richmond to represent. But the funny thing this week, and I talked to you a little bit about this the other day. So to me, it's a little bit early for yard signs. The convention is probably going to be in June, and the election not until November. So I was thinking more of 45 to 60 day out yard signs. But my opponent started putting yard signs out, and they put one yard sign in the town, and then they tell everybody, oh, we got signs all over town, you know. But I started having a conversation the other night at Cora's house. We were eating dinner, and, you know, nobody's in your corner any more than your family is.
Correct. Yeah.
So, you know, Cora saw a yard sign at someone's house close to where we live that just kind of disappointed her. You know, somebody that she knew, went to school. Naomi went to school with the daughter, and, you know, we've known the family my whole life, all that.
Cora probably coached her in cheer.
Coached a girl in cheer. So, you know, Cora's like, Dad, I just don't understand. I said, Cora, in my situation, probably most anybody's situation, if you've run businesses or had to run a business, protect your business, deal with the general public, all these kind of things, along the line, there's going to be times when you have to make decisions and do things that are not going to make everybody happy.
Oh, yeah.
One of the things that my dad always says when we have a conversation, he'll say, Hermie, if you run our business the way everybody else wants you to run our business, won't be long, we'll be out of business. We'll be out of business. You know, so I told Cora, I said, you know, there's going to be people that are jealous. There's going to be people that, you know, think the price of gas is too high in Emporia, and that's my fault.
Yeah.
There's going to be people that maybe were fans of somebody that I spun out on the racetrack at some point. There's going to be people that got mad when I outran them at a go-kart race in Broadnax, Virginia when I was 12 years old. You know, there's any number of reasons why, you know, people will, even though they may be from your town, and you would think they would want a state senator from their area that they could pick up the phone and call when they had a concern. So, you know, but I don't take it personally, but I understand why my kids do. They think that everybody should like us, and I wish that was the way it is, but that's not reality, you know. So I try to explain to them. I said, look, I've raced, I've done this. You know, you if you run businesses, you're going to have those kind of things off and on. I said, you can't always just get along and go along, and that doesn't always work in politics. But how I turned the conversation back around and made it a more, you know, positive conversation, I told my kids and Angie, I said, let me turn this around on you. I said, think about if somebody was gauging me in my effectiveness as a politician, and if the only thing people could or would say about me as a politician was that, well, he didn't really make anybody mad, and, you know, people seem to like him. You know, that's not what I want to be. If I get elected, that's not the kind of legislator I want or plan to be.
I haven't been that in 13 sessions.
You know, you ask me a lot
space
about a state senator. What does he ever do? Do you ever see him out around? And I won't call his name, but you know what I'm talking about. What does he ever do?
Yeah.
I have no idea.
But you know, Bill, you've been here 12 years.
13 sessions.
13 sessions.
Yeah.
I mean, you've ruffled some feathers along the way,
no,
right?
Not Bill.
Me?
Billy?
There are birds with feathers around here? Yes.
But
yeah, I do it. I've done it this year.
Not Billy.
There are people that will not talk to me, but I don't care. I stand up for my principles.
Let me ask you, you would not take it as a compliment, because I've heard this about maybe
go along, get along?
about my potential opponent. Well, hadn't really upset anybody.
Go along, get along is not
You know,
the way
and I'm like-
it's done in Southside Virginia, dude.
I don't know. That's not.
We're left out
a
of the
ringing
conversation all the dang time. Think about the current senator. I mean, love her to death, but she don't come out here. She don't have to.
Yeah.
The powers in Hampton Roads, powers in Richmond, powers in Northern Virginia, which leaves the rest of Virginia out on the sideline, fighting to get in. And so that's why, you know, when we lose in numbers, the number of politicians in the Senate and House, because our populations decrease over the 10-year redistricting thing. So the voices have to be louder, because geographically we cover more areas in our Senate, like my Senate district, what would be yours, than all of the Northern Virginia senators combined.
Yeah.
Geographically.
It's a long haul across there.
Yeah. But they come in here and try to tell us what to do and how to think. And You know, that's the big frustration. So you have to have somebody that's really going to stand up for the little guy.
Well, the moral of the story I tried to
Every
tell
man and
them
woman.
is, I said, in life, in business, in racing, certainly in politics, if you're not afraid to try to get meaningful stuff done
Yep.
that positively affect a lot of people, you're gonna have to make some decisions and say some things and do some things
Break some
sometimes
eggs.
that's not gonna make people happy.
Even though eggs are really expensive.
Expensive, yeah. But Bill, I got to tell you, I want to tell you again, or suggest to you again, if the General Assembly doesn't get this gaming stuff right, let me tell you, the marijuana is going to be. We've been talking earlier about the local politicians.
It's a cluster
caving and
fornication,
cracking.
okay?
It is going to happen
It's
again.
already. They tackled 2 issues in 1 year that they had no ability to corral.
Because that's on the referendum this year in November, correct? I believe
No,
so.
marijuana is legal.
Well, all right,
There's no referendum.
but the sale.
That's within. We've got bills before the General Assembly right now on the commercial sale.
The commercial
So think
sale
about
of
it this
it,
way.
correct.
You can possess marijuana in Virginia now. You can grow marijuana in Virginia now. You can smoke marijuana in Virginia now, but you can't sell marijuana in Virginia now, and you can't get the seeds to grow the marijuana in Virginia now. How screwed up is that?
Well, it's coming.
Oh, and by the way, they're allowing these other, vape shops and those things to sell a Kratom and, Delta
Synthetic
8
stuff,
and synthetic stuff. We have messed this up just like we messed up casinos, just like we messed up gambling. Just
gonna be the
like we messed
same
up skill
thing.
games. We bit off more than we could chew. We have no capability with 140 members of the General Assembly legislature to actually put something in place that works. So guess what we do? We half-ass it, and when we half-ass it, the criminal element comes in. The illegal stuff comes in. We've just opened the door, and we lose all that tax revenue, but we've opened the door to let other interests dominate Virginia politics and the way we make policy here in the Commonwealth. Give me a friggin' break. It's ridiculous.
All right, so you asked me how my campaign was going.
Yeah. Let's finish up with that, and then we're going to take a break because then we'll make you dinner, make you a nice, healthy dinner.
Yeah.
And then we're going to come back and finish up this podcast.
I have really enjoyed the process, meeting not only constituents, but possible constituents, but meeting with business owners that some reconnect with some, meeting new ones, and just trying to tell them why I'm running and why I think this election is
Why?
so important.
Wow.
Because we haven't had the voice. We've been overlooked.
Very true.
We've got all the problems that we talk about all the time. Crime. We've got kids in 4th grade that in our public school system that cannot read. And I got a different perspective because when these kids get up into high school, I'm trying to hire them. I need to put people to work. And so we've got to improve our education systems to get these kids when they get ready to graduate. Not everybody can go to college. So we've got to work on community college opportunities. We've got to work on vocational opportunities. We've got to work on other ways to prepare our kids because our labor force in areas in Virginia like I live, it's horrible. We've got crime through the roof. We've got an overall lack of support for law enforcement. We've got inflation. We've got, people shouldn't have to decide in 2023 if they're going to go fill the car up with gas or go to the grocery store.
Or pay their electric.
Or pay the electric bill. So we talk about all these things, but nobody's really
Talking about them.
doing anything.
Yeah.
Doing anything. And so, that's a real frustration.
Yeah.
But that's been real fun. But one thing else I want to say before we take a break about the campaign, and I've said this hundreds and hundreds of times. I have lived an unbelievable life. Gone, race, do TV, travel the globe, travel the country, do all that. As I sit here right now, there's no bigger asset that I have in my life than my family. And just as importantly, the friends. I have made some great friends all across this country. And one of those friends is Phil Vassar. And Phil and I have been really, really close friends for 20 plus years. He's a native Virginian, and I have been in Vegas with him. I've been in LA with him. I've been in Lynchburg with him. Well, on March the 13th, Monday night, March the 13th, in Franklin, Virginia, Phil
Not
Vassar.
Franklin County, Franklin City.
Not Franklin County, Franklin City, Southampton County. Phil Vassar is coming to play a fundraiser for me at a place called Main Event in Franklin, Virginia. And guess who's opening up for Phil Vassar?
I heard.
That night?
I heard.
Shep Moss.
David Sneed and JB and the Get Down Browns.
Lord.
So
We're
Golf
talking
bag
a-
hurdling Sneed.
We are talking about a party in Franklin
Are you
City
going to do like some DJ
on a Monday night.
Shep?
on a Monday night.
On a Monday night.
That's
So-
gonna be
I
big.
may not even make the guest list. Who knows?
Monday. Look, for $200 you can come. All right.
I'm
So
there.
Monday night, March 13th at Main Event in Franklin, Virginia. You can go to www.sadler4virginia.com and buy tickets. We're going to have a great night, have a lot of fun. I got a couple of special live auction items I'm going to auction off as well to guests that are there. But to me, just to have a guy like Phil Vassar, that I know how it is to travel like he currently does. And for him to take a day away from home and come to Franklin on a Monday night says a lot about our relationship. Thank you, Haley. And but we're looking forward to having Phil Vassar in Franklin on Monday night, March 13th at Main Event in Franklin. I hope we'll have a big turnout, a big crowd, and I'll never be able to thank Phil Vassar enough for
that's
taking the
for
time
one,
to do
too.
that.
And if it's as big as Haley's burp, it's going to be huge.
Haley, what happened? What's
That's
wrong?
all right.
I was that way all day today at the General Assembly in the Senate floor. I was like, I'm gassy. I don't know what's going on. But I held it back.
Monday, March 13th, Franklin,
Very
Virginia. The one, the only, the legendary Phil Vassar.
And that's your
And
campaign
he
update
is
for Sadler
awesome.
for Senate. Now, we're going to take a break here.
How about
'cause
your update?
What do you mean?
Are you doing any campaigning or?
We can't talk about that right now in General Assembly session.
Okay.
So, but we're
you
going
are
to take
running.
a break. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, I announced I was running and in the new 7th. Hope that those people that are in there in that district would make me their nominee.
Did you have a bigger turnout this time than the originally?
No, I sent it out by email. So
Gotcha.
what turnout? Yeah, I had 8 people the first time. But when we come back, I want to talk about the Chinese balloon that was flying over
Wow.
the United States, just recently shot down by our great Air Force.
How dumb it was.
But I also want to tie that into a very important bill that is working its way through the Senate and had a lot of Democrat resistance, which would have prevented Richard Stewart, the senator, put a bill in that would prevent the Chinese Communist Party from buying our farmland here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And you would not believe how much resistance he got here on the floor today. As we get ready for crossover in the 2023 Virginia General Assembly session, we're going to take a break, but we've got a lot more to talk to. We don't need a damn guest this week. All the people bailed that I tried to line up, but we'll get them next week. But let's talk about that when we get back, okay? I want you to listen to these messages from our sponsors. We're very grateful for them. But when we come back, let's talk some serious stuff.
I think it's time for some
our
Hermie guests.
Virginia and not letting the Chinese to come in our backyard and push us around. We'll be right back.
Hi, folks. This is Hermie Sadler. Thanks for listening to our all-new podcast, Leaning Right and Turning Left with Sadler and the Senator. I hope you are enjoying the show as much as Senator Stanley and I enjoy bringing it to you. Whether you're a family traveling together or a truck driver hauling freight up and down the highway, I hope you will take the time to visit one of our Sadler Travel Plaza locations in Virginia and North Carolina. Sadler Travel Plaza locations are licensed dealer locations for Pilot Travel Centers, and we also carry Shell Motiva petroleum products for our four-wheel friends. We pride ourselves on providing one-stop shopping for service, food, and entertainment. Our food options include Five Guys Burgers and Fries, Quiznos, Dairy Queen, Hermie Sadler's Faux Show Bar and Grill, Victory Lane Restaurant, Hunt Brothers Pizza, Dunkin' Donuts, and much, much more. Our locations include Sadler Travel Plaza in South Hill, located off I-85 at exit 12. The Sadler Travel Plaza of Emporia, which is conveniently located on exit 11B off I-95, and Sadler Travel Plaza on Highway 58 in Suffolk. We also have our North Carolina location, Sadler Travel Plaza in Dunn, North Carolina, that's exit 75 off I-95. We appreciate all of our customers, and Bill and I appreciate you listening to Leaning Right and Turning Left
with Sadler and the Senator, powered by Pace-O-Matic.
You know, Herm, we have been really proud to have Manscaped. Manscaped.com is one of our primary sponsors. They've been sponsoring us for a while. I love the Manscaped products. I love and use them. Brought them here to Richmond. They're right there in my apartment. In fact, I just used them last night. It was a great thing to do. Like when
Why do you look at me like that when you say that?
It's like when a woman says, "Yeah, I'm not going out. I'm gonna wash my hair and do my nails." That's what I did last night. They're great products. I swear by them. I have got the body wash. I've got the shampoo, conditioner. I swear by them. I mean, make my dome look really good. My hair looks good. But now they've got new products, Hermie, and new products that maybe we don't giggle about as much because they're not dealing with the nether regions. But if you trust Manscaped.com to handle the downstairs, well, let them handle the upstairs too. Because you know what? I had facial hair. You've had facial hair. I don't have it right now. Shaved it off for the beginning of actually a court trial because they always say that guys with beards don't do well in juries. So I don't have a beard right now. But you know who has a beard? In this triumvirate that we have here in our podcast? Shep Mouse. Shep Mouse got a shaggy.
He got a soul patch.
Shep, you know, Manscaped's going into new products, and we're excited that we're allowed, and we're one of the platforms that Manscaped wants to announce what these new products are. And what are they, Shep?
I agree. We have breaking news here on the Leaning Right, Turning Left podcast. Manscaped now sells beard products. That's right. They are once again...
Wait. Beer products? Like
beard products.
Oh, not beer.
Beard
I
products.
So you don't drink it?
No, absolutely not.
All right, go ahead.
Look, they are once again revolutionizing men's grooming with the brand new Beard Hedger Pro Kit. From a beard trim to a fresh shave, the technology behind the Beard Hedger Pro Kit allows you to shape your signature beard look. Now you can finally use Manscaped products to make your drapes match your carpet by going to manscaped.com and using promo code SADLER for 20% off and free shipping.
What's that promo code again?
Sadler.
SADLER. Sadler.
For Senate.
20%. No, don't type that in. 20% off plus free shipping anywhere in the United States and the world. Isn't that right?
It is correct.
And you know, we got you the product. You're obviously using it right now.
I love it. I love it. I love the beard shampoo and the conditioner. You need to remember all of your hair is different. Your beard hair is more coarse and easier to damage than the hair on your head. That's why the kit that I use makes shampoo and conditioner specifically designed to moisturize, reduce ingrown hairs, replace natural oils, and promote beard health.
And it's looking really good. I think that's the best shaggy you've got going on in a while.
Yes, I've really enjoyed it.
Wait, Hermie's kind of looking at you.
I tell you,
buddy.
I mean, he just eat up with good looks and personality. Always has been.
Yeah.
Throw in
It's tough to
the
have him
use of the manscaped.com products. From head to toe, it gives you the tools. Like if you don't have the tool, this gives you the tools.
Right. It only enhances every part of you now.
Yeah.
And there's nothing that
So if you have other shortcomings, the manscaped.com Premier Package 4.0 really helps level the playing field like we've been talking about.
Performance Package 4.0, it's what I got. Makes a big difference.
And guys, I got to tell you, the real cool thing about it, it's waterproof. So you can use it in the shower, you can use it in the hot tub, you can use it in the soak tub. It's waterproof.
So please don't tell me you soak in the tub at night.
Oh, absolutely.
You get in the hot tub with your
How do you think my skin stays?
You get in there, hot tub with your wife. You got your Manscaped Performance Package, the lawnmower, and your beard trimmer, and you go, hold on, honey, I ain't ready yet.
That's a whole other conversation if your wife gets in the tub with you.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. What?
Does she or does she not?
Oh, yes, sir. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I have a tub as big as this conference table.
Is that right?
Excuse me.
Nicely done there, Sadler. So everybody, look, go to Manscaped.com.
It's called Lake Gaston.
That's kind of gross. Everybody go to Manscaped.com. Check out all their great products. I mean, they have so many products. They've got colognes. They've got body washes. They've got the shampoo, conditioner. They've got now beard trimmers and down there trimmers. You need to look, because this is the company for men's grooming that you should stop at first. It's your only stop for men's grooming, manscaped.com. And when you go there and you order anything and put in promo code
Sadler,
you'll get 20% off plus free shipping.
Plus free shipping.
And so we are just proud to have manscaped.com on board here at Leaning Right and Turning Left with Sadler and the Senator.
Plus, if you order the Pro Beard Kit, you're also going to get 3 free gift guides: the beard brush, the comb, and the scissors to ensure your beard is ready to impress.
Man, they just
plus free shipping.
Plus free shipping. They just keep handing it out, don't they? But guys, you'll get hooked on this just like we are. Go to manscaped.com. Look up what they have, buy what you get, put in promo code Sadler. We get the credit for it. They're happy that we promoted their product, and you get a great product delivered to your front door with free shipping.
Everybody gets to look like me and you.
And that would be a better world, wouldn't it, Shep?
Yes, it would.
Okay. Go to manscaped.com and make sure you look up and find the things you need and get promo code Sadler in there in the checkout, and you'll get 20% off on everything.
Free shipping.
Free shipping. Hey, this is Bill Stanley, Hermie Sadler's sidekick on this podcast. When I'm not in Richmond at the Capitol or doing this podcast, my real job for the past 27 years is as a trial attorney with the Stanley Law Group. Here at the Stanley Law Group, we represent our clients in every courthouse in the Commonwealth. No problem is too small for us to solve. No case is too big for us to win. Whether it's criminal charges, traffic offenses, civil disputes, litigation matters of any sort, we handle it all. We make sure that we treat every client like family, because they are to us. Your problem is our problem. Your success is our success, because we hate to lose more than we love to win. And believe me, we win a lot. Don't believe me? Go ask Hermie. I'm his favorite lawyer, and he hates lawyers. So give us a call at 540-721-6028 and let us help you. Or visit our website at www.vastanleylawgroup.com. That's www.vastanleylawgroup.com. At the Stanley Law Group, we'll make sure we're the lawyers that you swear by and not at. And we're back. I'm Virginia State Senator Bill Stanley. Just got the hand again from Shep Moss, who's running the board. And I'm with my buddy, Hermie Sadler.
I'm Hermie Sadler, and I'm turning left, leaning right and turning left with Sadler and the Senator. And we have our third wheel, Shep Moss.
is here. So
Shep was showing us the work that he's a lot like Alan Joseph.
tell me
Multiple residences.
Oh, yes.
Multiple residences.
Yeah,
He
in
has
tropical areas.
A primary residence in South Hill, Virginia.
Correct.
A secondary residence on Lake Gaston.
Indeed.
And he's building, looks like he's built him a deck, and then he's got grills and
Outdoor grilling area.
outdoor grilling. I mean, just a
Putting in the slate, putting in the accoutrement,
yeah.
putting in the finishing touches.
He's ready to do. Who are you going to be entertaining over there?
Not us, obviously.
Probably Bobby.
Bobby. Labonte?
No, maybe. If he wins a race.
Bobby who?
Brantley,
Who's that?
Oh, have mercy.
Who's that?
one of Hermie's friends.
Oh, great. But not Hermie, obviously.
No, Hermie's not invited.
No.
Yeah, but
I'm
very,
gonna have
very nice.
I've
Bobby
offered,
and Plug.
I've offered a couple things that I would ask us to do this summer, and y'all both shot me down right off the bat and said, you're going to be too busy.
Who?
Y'all both told me I was going to be too busy.
You are going to be
campaigning.
busy trying to win an election.
Right.
No time for golf.
Well,
No
not
time
like you're
for
thinking.
Meaningful dialogue.
Not like you're thinking.
When the General Assembly stops, your campaign's going to kick into serious gear.
Yeah, I look forward to that.
You know, I mean, I'm worried about how we schedule these podcasts coming up.
No, we got it.
Okay. All right. Well, you know, one thing I wanted to remind everybody of, and our listeners, and we're over 10,000 regulars, 60,000 subscribers, is the intro today was brought to us. Now we've had Mike Daryl Waltrip doing our intro, which has been awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty, you know.
DW's great.
And with Bill Vassar's song, his number one hit.
Just Another Day in Paradise. And by the way, you can hear that Monday night, March 13th at Main Event in Franklin, Virginia, as Phil Vassar, the legendary Phil Vassar, comes to Franklin, Virginia to play a private concert in support and as a fundraiser for Sadler for Virginia. And you can go to sadlerforvirginia.com and get tickets.
Because they're on sale right now.
They're on sale. They went on sale Tuesday.
Swear I didn't set this up for that, but that was a good segue. I mean, that's
And opening up for Phil Vassar is none other than sometimes our fourth wheel on the golf course,
party time with Shep Miles.
David Sneed and JB and the Get Down Browns band.
Who's going to play the in-betweens?
There'll be no in
There won't
between.
be any in between.
The opening act goes off the stage. Everybody puts
Opening
their own
act's not
equipment
going
up.
off stage.
They're going to stay on there.
That's
with
when
Phil.
you're going to speak.
Oh, wow.
I'm going to speak
Yeah, you're going to speak.
to who?
And you better step it up.
Who do I need? Angie? Who am I talking to?
You're talking to hopefully a packed house of Southside Virginians. That,
Oh, I'm sure it'll be packed.
Are we putting a time leash on him? Because you know he can ramble.
not at all.
Just let him go.
Not at all.
Good 30 minutes?
Whatever you want.
Okay. I'm there. If I get 30, I'm there. Always. Well, that sounds like a great event that I didn't anticipate being a part of the conversation.
Are you going
But-
to have to report that event?
No.
You get paid?
Well, how am I going to get paid talking about Hermie?
Well, you may pay.
Well, we get paid talking about Hermie on this podcast.
Got you.
Some of us do. But what you really had was the opening again from Larry the Cable Guy. People, if you
great.
haven't, if you've already, you're halfway in this podcast, you didn't realize the opening, go back and listen. We've had Larry the Cable Guy now in support of this podcast. A friend of Hermie, FOH, gave us an opening that is so funny.
It made me want to go buy a suit.
Go fart in it. I mean, listen to that guy. But we're so happy.
You want to play a couple seconds of it?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Hey, this is Larry the Cable Guy. Check this out. Me and my buddies in my truck the other day running up there at the men's warehouse to fart in the suits, and he was listening to something on his phone. I said, well, that sounds like Hermie Sadler. He goes, it is Hermie Sadler. He's got a podcast called Leaning Right and Turning Left with Sadler and the Senator. I said, the Senator? He said, that's his good buddy, Bill Stanley, Virginia State Senator. I said, you gotta be kidding me. They got a show? And he didn't know this. I said, did you know Hermie was voted one of the 50 best looking drivers in NASCAR? He said, I did not know that. I said, because it ain't true. Damn right. He's right.
No, keep going. Why you're stopping it?
Oh, well, make him listen to the show.
Okay, so another,
He said because he keeps his helmet on all the time.
and you know who wrote that? Can you just imagine who wrote that for Larry the Cable Guy to say?
All right, so let's go.
That tool right over
That
there.
one right there?
Let's go move on to the other.
That tool right over there.
Yeah, I read it.
He thought it'd be funny. Oh no, he didn't make the top 70. Larry called me. He said, "You want me to really say that?"
Who the hell's writing your stuff?
Yeah.
And you're going to
Yeah.
give him 30 minutes?
Did you make up the thing about farting the suits?
No, that's his. I'm not that clever. I mean, that actually says.
Only thing we should have done,
What's that?
as an inside joke to some friends of yours in General Assembly, we should have said J.C. Penney.
That's a long story. It's an inside joke. Yeah. Well, actually, the inside joke was Tommy Norman and Louise Lucas, your friend, senators.
Dear
we're having a disagreement, and Louise Lucas is not one to back down. I mean, she's got a backbone and a spine like no other. I mean, she's tough.
True leader.
Listen, she's effective. Fortunately, it's for the other side, but she's extremely effective and charming. But if you cross her, you got what the J.C. Penney's boys department comment was, which was he said something to her that was curt, and she turned around and said, "You just go back to that J.C. Penney small boys suit department where you buy your suits, and you just stay right there and shut up." and it made it into the paper, and so I mean, when you look at Tommy Norman's suits, then all of a sudden they look like they came out of the J.C. Penney boys husky suit department. So one day we were on the floor, and after they'd done this, it was really tense. I was messing around on the internet and found out that the next day was the birthday of James Cash Penney. And so I, as a moment of personal privilege, I I recognized in Virginia that it was the birth date of one of the greatest retailers of all time, James Cash Penney, otherwise known as J.C. Penney, where you can go to the men's or the boys' suit department and get yourself a suit with 20% off. And it was a big kind of icebreaker. But yeah, that's the J.C. Penney suit story. So Larry the Cable Guy, you did that, Herm, right?
Yep.
I wrote it. We've also had an article about this podcast there, Shep. And Shep Moss got himself a picture in a major publication, the Cardinal News, where we had last week, if you listen to the podcast, we had Dwayne Yancey. It was a great interview.
He's a fascinating guest.
Oh, man. He has his pulse on not only Virginia politics, but also what's going on in media and why media is changing. And he's ahead of the curve. And I thought that was a great podcast. If you haven't listened to it, go listen to it. It's amazing. But then he did an article about the podcast.
Well, I got to talk to him about 2 hours last week.
That's what he said. That's why he was worn out by the time he got interviewed by us when I showed up.
Really?
It looked like
Now, I didn't read the whole article. I saw it on social media and I shared it and all that. But it's my understanding, Senator, did you call Shep a smartass?
Yeah.
According
You
to
said
my
that's
wife.
why he's on the show because
And I called you a slug.
Called me a slut?
A slug.
Oh.
Well, I meant caterpillar. So, yeah. So he said, well, why would you have Shep Moss on? How did he come along? I said, well, because he's a funny smartass. And we had him on for one show, and then all
Yeah,
of a
but
sudden
sometimes he's not funny.
I've not found that yet. I think he's funny.
You think Shep Moss is funny all the time?
Unfortunately, even when it's at my expense, yes. But right now, he's not even paying attention. He's looking at his damn phone.
Well, he's looking at the article.
So I call him a smartass, and I said, watching your evolution from being a small business owner, activist to running for office and I meant to say like a caterpillar, but I said slug. So from a slug to a butterfly. But I called you a butterfly.
I'm sorry I don't make Hermie laugh all the time.
Oh my God, are we getting personal here?
No.
I had you over for dinner. I just
brought
made
Shep
you guys
on
dinner
because
in the
Shep
break. In the break, I made them
I see Shep may have got a picture in the article too.
exactly, and I just made you tacos de carne asada with chicken, low fat, low carb, carb free tortillas.
What does the article say?
And
Shep?
you're having a case of the ass right now?
What does the article say? Is it
Well,
released?
some episodes, Stanley and Sadler joined by South Hill businessman and town council member Shep Moss. We brought Shep on because Shep's a smartass, Andy said.
Not an
I can
untrue
vouch
statement.
for this, although Moss also asked me a very insightful question about what makes a good journalist. Oh, so he thinks I'm a smartass too, because he says I can vouch for this.
No, he said you were insightful.
Wow.
Oh my God, really?
Wow.
Now, will the podcast have to pay for the therapy that we need to put Shep Moss through to get his confidence back?
Well, what I was going to say is what my daddy would probably say.
Picture. When's the last time you got your picture in a damn political article?
Oh, that happens every
Now,
month.
this is on cardinalnews.org, and it's like Bill Stanley is a podcast. What's the title of that thing? Whoever
This
wants to read it. So they can figure out whether you're being a big baby or whether you're right. And they can send in all their emails, hundreds that we get.
State
They can tell us.
Senator Bill Stanley is now a podcaster and race car owner.
With the smart-ass Shep Moss.
Didn't say much anything about Hermie in that. I was a little disappointed in that. He kind of put himself over.
I understand.
God
bless you, Haley.
Wait a minute. So when
He put
he goes
himself
on
over.
TV, he has to talk about me half the time? Do you understand? I'm still a state senator. I'm trying to get the message out.
Why don't we just move on?
No. We need to explore your insecurity before we move forward. Because I think it ruins the whole show. You're taking the smart ass.
The whole show. Now it's all on me. It's all on me.
The smart ass out of smart
It was
ass.
like Hermie, we'd do wrestling shows, and he'd bring in all of these wrestlers from all over the country, pay them all kinds of buku money.
Yeah.
Big name wrestlers. Big name wrestlers.
Yeah.
Nobody shows up. It's like, well, Shep, y'all didn't. I mean, it was a shitty setup.
And they blamed you.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's where your insecurity comes from.
I need my security blanket.
Do you want a whoopee?
I might need one.
Here, why don't you give me
What are we talking about in this section
have
of the show?
no clue because we went from
thought
Larry
you
the
were-
Cable Guy to the article to his insecurity about. I mean, your picture's in the article. in the Cardinal News, cardinalnews.org,
And
talking
you
about
and
this
Dwayne Yancey
podcast.
had a 2-hour
At least
I
2
think
hours.
you wore his ass out.
heart-to-heart conversation.
He probably would have been a lot more
Let me
petty.
tell you something. He
Unless you
was
had talked to him
very
like you-
curious about some South Hill politics. He was really dumbfounded
Remember,
at some of the
that's his
things
code.
I was telling him.
That's his coda right there.
His little
Curious.
niche.
Well, remember, he said, if I'm going to hire a very smart and intelligent writer with no curiosity, or a guy that's not such a good writer with curiosity, I'm going to take curiosity. And that's really what he is, too.
He was very curious about some things out of going
So
on.
he wanted to talk to us about the podcast. He wanted to talk to me about the podcast. And I said, no, not unless you come on. And he willingly submitted to it. And I thought we learned a whole heck of a lot.
I agree.
And
Because when he was talking about the newspapers and how the conglomerates have bought them up and
big companies, it's corporatization of the news.
they're really controlling the narrative.
Think
because
about it this way. Berkshire Hathaway, which owns so many of these papers, controls the news narrative. It's a corporation telling you what to know and believe. It's no longer the Fourth Estate that was independent of government or corporation.
And no reporters
They
over
are
at the
corporations.
GA.
Yeah. What a compelling podcast. It's the one right before this one that drops this week. But I thought it was a really good one. And it was a very nice article. I'll take it. I didn't mean to call you a slug, Hermie. I meant caterpillar.
Slug is better than
And Shep,
smartass.
I meant to call you a smart. Oop, you're a smart. All right, and that's why you're enjoyable.
You didn't got him to cursing then.
I mean, it's not like you sit there and you're funny, but it's not like you kiss some Hermie ass. But I mean, you and I go at it, right?
I know where the money's at.
Okay.
Way to go, Herm.
All right.
All right, well, yeah. So, hang her on.
Well, I mean, you hang on to Angie. I try to hang on to Hermie.
No, I hang on to Angie as her attorney. That's not hanging on.
Oh.
That is making sure that my future financially and her future financially, Hermie's wife, that I
To hell with
represent now,
Hermes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Financially. Otherwise,
that we're going to secure our futures, because we know where the bread.
This has been just 14
Has the
minutes
butter.
and 40 seconds of just
nothing. Nothing.
Okay, so I made a list of like Larry, and this is why we never prepare. We just talk.
Damn, I don't have record pushed. Damn it.
Good for you. So we talked about Larry, talked about the article. Let's talk about Chinese balloons.
Thanks to Larry the Cable Guy for doing our intro. We'll use that for the next couple of months, and
He
then
gave
we'll
us 3 variations. I think we use all 3.
I sent this to you the other day.
So tell everybody,
into the.
how do you get Larry Cable Guy to do a drop like that?
I text him.
That's how Shep gets me to do stuff for him in the government. He texts me.
Yeah.
Hey, can you go find this out?
Larry's
Can you
like-
go pull this thing?
And I
Can you
normally
vote
hear
for
back
this?
in about 3 weeks.
Larry
Same
is a big time race fan. He's
Great guy.
Yeah, he's come out. He at that time, I'm not sure about now. I didn't ask him about. At the time, he's living out in Nebraska. He used to come to the races like at Kansas and other places out in the Midwest. He used to come to Elliot's bus all the time and hang out and drink beer and do all that. He's always stayed in touch. Anytime he's had a show anywhere close by that we could go, we always went. And I don't have another fancy way to say it, but when we were talking about other people to get to do the intros, I said, let's get Larry the Cable Guy to do one. And so I did text him. Actually, I called him once, but I texted him, and he
did it one time. It didn't work out like the video was, or the audio was.
the audio was bad, and plus we needed to update it with some other stuff. But he did it, put them on his voice memo, and sent them to me, and there we have it.
It's great.
And I did not write the line about going to Men's Warehouse to fart in the suits. That was not my stuff. My stuff was on the back end. I did the, you listen to this podcast, you'll be as happy as a tornado in a trailer park. You did that great, and Get Her Done. I mean, what a great piece of iconic American history that, quite frankly, in today's society,
Get Her Done
wouldn't be accepted in the woke culture.
He's a walking Rolodex, Bill.
Who?
Hermie.
Oh, Hermie. Okay. Still kissing Hermie's ass. I'm just telling you. Do you think we could get Larry the Cable Guy on the show?
Sure.
Okay, let's do it.
But we got to get somebody to figure out how to do the Zoom part again.
We better call Brad.
Chad Monday, Brad Tuesday. We missed you, buddy. If you're listening,
Only as it relates to the podcast.
there is a lot level production value right now, but I'm getting by. Right? We've had
we're
some
doing
good.
fine.
We've had
Yeah,
some
we're
good
doing
stuff.
fine.
So let's talk about the Chinese balloon. All right. Because even in Virginia, we're fighting these issues. And I want to weave that back into a very good bill argued on the floor of the Senate by Senator Richard Stewart out of King George. So a Chinese balloon launched into the atmosphere 60,000 feet above us with all this technological equipment controlled by the Chinese is allowed to float over the United States, the continental United States of America. What, for 5 days?
Started in Alaska, correct?
Yeah, the Aleutian Islands was when it was first noticed. Chinese claim it's a wayward weather satellite balloon. But if you looked at those things sticking out of it, that ain't going to tell you what the barometer reads. And then we allowed it to cross our border for 5 days. What do you guys think about all that? I mean, because it really does affect Virginia. I'm going to show you how in a minute, but let's talk about that. I mean, to me, that is a naked aggression across the sovereignty of the borders of the United States. And if I believe that our borders were solid, like every other country does, then I could understand maybe some strategic reasons why they didn't shoot it down. But we're letting hundreds of thousands, millions of people across our southern border with Chinese fentanyl that's trying to kill the United States, trying to kill its citizens, trying to degrade and disrupt its society. And ultimately, this is a country that wants to kill us, wants us to fail. And they send a balloon over our country, which is untouched for 5 days. Everybody, I mean, how many hundreds of thousands, millions of Americans saw it, and we did nothing. What's that say to you guys?
I'm just curious why we didn't shoot it down once it got to Alaska, over that part of the ocean. That would have made more strategic sense to me than letting it cross across the North American range and even into Canada.
Well, the damn thing went over, and they were controlling the balloon. They were controlling its movements, but over the most sensitive sites in our upper Northwest.
And it makes no sense.
And we did nothing, especially in open spaces, to shoot it down.
Like Montana.
Right.
Okay, now the governor there is saying, well, why didn't you shoot it down over Montana? This whole situation makes absolutely no sense. And I guess if
but
the
what
situation...
does it say about the Chinese and their ability to infiltrate and mockingly infiltrate? Think about it.
Are they in the casino business?
They
What
should
it
be,
says-
because
what it
they're
sounds
about on
like.
par.
What it says-
But TikTok, with getting all the information of our children,
Yeah.
getting all the information that anybody that goes on and signs up or gets that app, and then you got almost by an FU, a finger in the air, floating the most primitive spy mechanism, and it captivates our country for 5 days, and our country doesn't even determine to shoot it down until it goes over the Atlantic, and then they're having a hard time finding it right now because the debris field from this balloon stretches over, as they said tonight, 500 football fields by 500 football fields. I mean,
To me-
we look like idiots.
To me, it says or verifies one of a couple things. Either Joe Biden and his administration are completely asleep at the wheel, and or it just makes you wonder even more, how is our president compromised in some way, shape, or form as it relates to China,
Yeah.
and his business dealings and his son's business dealings and what they know. I mean, you said it. The balloon is one episode. This thing comes in and flies all across the country over top of all of our military sites. We have no idea what kind of information it's collecting. It goes all the way across and it gets out in the Atlantic Ocean. So now they say, well, it's finished now. Let's see if we can't shoot this thing down and make it look like we're in control. And then the Chinese come and say, well, now we're mad, and so.
Yeah, that was a balloon for weather.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things. But we continue to show weakness. I've always agreed with the notion and support the notion of peace through strength and power. But we just look weak. We look compromised. China is playing us like a fiddle.
Man, it's bad.
I mean, you look at the balloon, you look at TikTok. I mean, just when our president is in the company of Xi and all these other, I mean, it's just We are
Selling out.
and we are not in control anymore.
What would happen if we put a balloon over China? What do we think they would have done?
It would not have gotten
That thing wouldn't have
10
gotten
miles.
100 miles of China. They would have shot that daggone balloon down so fast and called us. I mean, it's crazy. Why in the world, when it entered U.S. airspace up in Alaska, that balloon should have been destroyed right then? Any competent person, in my opinion, would have made that decision to instantly, or you make a phone call and say, look, we see your little balloon floating across here. Maybe you want to cut your drone on and turn that balloon around, because if it comes another nautical mile, it's going to be in 50,000 pieces.
So somebody said on the radio today that that's the first foreign military vehicle shot down over the United States land since Pearl Harbor, which is ridiculous.
But do you know how the Biden administration
They see it as
responds?
a victory. They shot.
Well,
the thing
it
down.
happened during Trump's administration 3 different times, I think they said.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's their response.
Sure.
The response to the incident.
But nobody told
is,
Trump, or he would have. Look, he would have sent laser beams out there to get.
I mean,
that thing.
their response is, well, it happened to Trump too.
Well, they said that, but I heard on the radio driving off here tonight that 10 or 12 people involved in that administration said that none of that.
That it never ever happened.
Never ever.
But that's what the Democrats do.
Yeah, sure.
Just say, well, it happened
Deflect.
to me too. Yeah,
Deflect.
Yep.
But you let a balloon from one of the enemies that brings fentanyl over, is involved in the child sex trafficking market, the human trafficking market, integrates into our society so it can degrade it, wants to destroy us, has sent enough fentanyl that would kill every American 3 times over into our society. And then we're allowing a Chinese spy balloon to cross our states for the continental United States for 5 days.
And Canada. Let's not forget that.
Well,
They said it drifted and crossed over Canada.
Canada is America's hat. I mean, they have the greatest thing in the world. They don't have to have a national defense. They have us.
They have us.
We'll protect them. But how humiliating is that? And don't think about how humiliating it is, because in politics, like, oh, it's not that important. Not a big deal. But for the Chinese, do you think they're back in their Politburo not going, we got Biden?
So what's next?
and all this is a test too.
Sure, what's
It's
next?
a test. No, it's a test to see what will they actually do when we do this.
Mm-hmm.
This is our action. What's their reaction? And everything we do now, if this administration has got to wait to be shamed into taking action to protect us by the media, you got to even wonder, would they have done anything if people hadn't raised so much hell? But they waited till it was over. They made it until.
We look like asses.
It's just a complete.
And even though it's nice seeing F-22 shoot the balloon, that should have never even been seen. We should have never seen that. We should never have seen that. It should have been before it ever crossed.
We're weak. We're just weak.
And why this is important is, if you think about it, everybody thinks, well, that's a national issue. But here in the Commonwealth of Virginia, it's a state issue. And right now, debated through the 2023 session, is Senate Bill 1438. Richard Stewart, out of King George, has filed a bill, because what we're seeing right now is China not just invading our sovereign territory with a balloon. They have bought in 1 year over $6.9 billion of fertile farmland in the continental United States. Why are they doing that? Because in my mind, I think they're trying to control the agricultural production, the food production. They want to be near some of the land they're buying is near military bases. So Richard Stewart filed a bill that basically said this, that a bill that would become law would prohibit any foreign government, as defined in the bill, that is a government that wants to do us harm, like Venezuela, like Maduro, like China. It prevents that that nation from purchasing, acquiring, leasing, or holding any interest in agricultural land from January 1, 2023, as defined by the federal government, and then requires us to monitor any land that they currently hold. What that basically says is the Chinese Communist Party, if you remember, has a battery company that they wanted to locate in one of our areas, including Danville. And the governor shut it down because he said, you bring in 2,500 jobs, you're going to control that local economy like we're talking about with casinos. We don't want that. And Governor Youngkin made that decision that we're not going to be at the behest of the Chinese government. We want to also prevent the Chinese government from buying up all our pasture land, all our farms. They can get it at a very cheap price, comparatively speaking. They pay cash for it. But they paid over $6 billion to purchase land in the United States. Why are they doing that? And so Senator Stewart's bill would prevent that from ever happening. Not just couldn't be a company front for the CCP. It is preventing the Chinese government from buying up our pasture land. Believe it or not, we had a long debate here in the Senate, and it was passed today. But it was passed, you would think, what do you think the vote was? 40-0? Right?
2-vote difference.
23-16. So you had all the Democrats vote against protecting Virginia farmland from the Chinese government or from any government that wants to do us harm. Barker, no. Boysko, no. Deeds, no. Eben, no. John Edwards from Roanoke, no. Favola from Northern Virginia, no. Hashmi from Richmond, no. Howell from Northern Virginia, no. Locke, Mamie Locke, no. Louise Lucas, Hermie, voted no. Monty Mason, no. Jen McClellan, running for Congress, no, from Richmond. Mick Pike, Northern Virginia, no. Peterson, Fairfax City, no. Rouse, new guy from Virginia Beach, no. Surville, no. 16 Democrats voted not to protect the farmland of Virginia from the Communist Chinese Party.
What was their debate?
I'm still trying to figure it out. Oh, they thought, oh, you're just being paranoid. Remember, they always say, you're always just being paranoid. You're being paranoid. Calm down. I stood up and said, yeah, we're being paranoid again. But $6 billion has been spent of Chinese money buying up farmland. Is that paranoia? $6 billion gets you a lot of acreage. But they want to, so long as it helps their agenda, they want to ignore communism because they kind of like communism. They want to ignore socialism because they like socialism. And then when we say, hey, this is a problem, we need to protect our border from fentanyl coming from made in Chinese companies made in China, sent over by coyotes, poisoning our children, poisoning our adult populations. They shoot balloons right over top of our airspace. We don't do anything about them. And then they want to buy our land, our farmland.
Yeah, not commercial real estate.
So what happens if we get into one of those food crises or a drought or what have you, and China is in control of at least a good portion of our farmland for farming, and they decide, because they don't like our national position on something, we're not going to farm those acreages. There will be no corn, no vegetables, no nothing, no cattle. What happens then? That's the scary part. And Richard Stewart gets my vote for Legislator of the Week for this bill. And I am shocked that Senate Bill 1438 by Richard Stewart, which now crosses over to the House, which I think it has a good shot, had 16 votes against. 23-16. I'm just shocked.
Call out, just in all fairness, call out the Democrats that voted for it.
John Bell, Loudoun County. Evan Hanger's a Republican. Dave Marsden from Northern Virginia. Love that guy. He's going to be on the show next
Dave.
week.
Yeah.
Joe Morrissey from Richmond. And the rest are all Republicans.
So 3?
Yeah, enough to get us to 23. So we have 18, so it should have been more. Bell, Saslaw. There's your extra one. Saslaw voted for it. Smart. Old guy. You know? The new crowd that's going to come in the next General Assembly session would never pass this bill. But it barely made it across the line where it's 22-18 Democrat. It was 23-16.
What was the vote on your pornography bill?
14-1. But the chairman of the committee, a Democrat, John Edwards, voted against it and was complaining. And in fact, they would not pass the bill until I put the definition of sexual conduct as being something that the Democrats have drafted that does not include sex acts from people of the same gender. To get it through the committee process, I went along with it. Because again, they were trying to, protect the LGBTQ positive, negative, and all this. But this is what we're facing. They want pornography in books in libraries. They don't want parents to be involved. They don't want. They say we're not teaching CRT, and then they go turn around and say, "Hey, look at us, we're teaching CRT." It's a mess. It's the last of the legislative agenda that they started from George Floyd. And they're pushing as much as they can. I mean, hell, we had a bill to create a council to legalize psilocybin, mushrooms. Can you believe that? We're going to legalize that next. That's Virginia. We've gone from prudent, protective of our citizens to, the Wild West. Anything's game. And that's what we're facing right now. So
I go back to what I said an hour and a half ago. The Republicans have to get control of the Senate back. And not only that, have to try to maintain a slim margin in the House, which makes me frustrated why one particular legislator decided to vacate a seat in the House of Delegates.
Yeah, me too.
To run for Senate.
But look at the issue. You're a candidate. You want China in here controlling our farmland?
You cannot have it.
You want China coming in and controlling our populace in terms of their jobs?
Newsflash, China hates us.
What?
They want control of us.
Even Kung Pao? General So? He hates us?
Yeah. Make all the jokes you want, but these people are after our ass.
It's not a joke.
These people are after our ass.
Yeah.
And we're sitting here asleep at the wheel.
Letting it happen.
And you know how when the big bullies, you always said you like to punch the bully.
In the nose.
If the Republicans in Virginia had at least a 20-20 tie, right now it's 22-18.
All right.
We got to pick up a couple of these seats. Then you can punch the bully. But right now, it's a sad state of affairs.
Well, and the beauty we have right now is crossovers tomorrow. So we get all our bills done in the Senate. All of them done. And whatever passes in the Senate goes over to the House. And the House comes over to the Senate. Well, the buzzsaw turns on in the House. All these crazy pieces of legislation that have gotten through the Senate will die an untimely death. Maybe a timely death. It will go very quickly. And then when they start killing each other's bills, then it becomes a frenzy. So then it becomes very partisan. So that's what we're going to look at here in the next week. We'll be surprised to see much come out of this whole thing, because I think it's going to be one of those, buzzsaws that the saw just doesn't ever turn off. So that's what we got. We'll get a budget, maybe. But meaningful legislation, we've got stuff that's not partisan that we all agreed to. But meaningful legislation that's right up in the middle or on the edge, no, it'll all be killed. And usually killed because of the patron and the patron's party affiliation rather than the merits. That's the sad part of what's going to happen.
In the meantime, we just keep borrowing money from China as well. We need to talk about that.
We're not, because of the setup of power and all the things you discussed, we're not serving the people.
Welcome to politics, man.
But
you have to change.
I do not like politics.
I understand. Well, we fight to change it. There are a lot of guys and men and women here that are fighting it.
Well, that's what I say. I understand fully. If I were in that Senate chamber with you, I understand the dynamic and the layout and who's got the advantage and who doesn't.
Sometimes
but that
you
don't
lay
mean
down,
you got to
you-
sit
you-
there and keep your damn mouth shut.
No, never.
That's what really frustrates me. Two things: people not speaking out, and also people that they say one thing to one group of people and legislate another way to another group of people, and those two things combined really is frustrating.
Shep, I can't wait till he gets here.
He's getting fired up tonight.
That will be the best 4 years I've
I mean,
ever
y'all,
had in
you
General
can't
Assembly. If we get
just
him
sit
elected-
there. You can't just sit there.
No, I don't.
I would want if I'm in there now, hypothetically, if I were in there with you now and we had this disadvantage in the Senate, and we had trouble getting bills done because but I can assure you, like you do more than just about anybody else, or as much as anybody else, stand up and advocate why you're for something.
Correct.
Or even things that that are not going to pass, you get up and make your opinion known on it or speak out against it, because the people that elected you to come in to serve need to know that they understand the position you're in, but that you believe and are fighting for the things that you told those people you were going to fight for when they elected you. And I see so many of these people, not calling names, but you got 3 or 4 people over there in y'all's group that don't mind speaking and don't mind the repercussions. And you got Seb Made in there that when they talk, it looks like it's an accident.
Who are the 3 or 4
What do you mean?
that speak?
Well, I see you speaking a lot.
Yeah.
I see Saravel speaks a lot on the other side.
Open chain.
Obin Shane speaks a lot.
Yeah.
McClellan,
Sure.
a fair amount. But I'm not calling, but there's 5 or 6 in there that I think
Richard Stewart.
Richard Stewart. Now, he speaks out a lot.
Yeah.
But it's
He's
4,
very, very articulate.
4, 5, 7, 8 in there on both sides of the aisle. I think their microphone's broke.
Probably true.
So I don't know.
But one thing Hermie's talking about, I've tried to do on the local level is speak out, ring the alarm, sound the bell. I mean, but I have not had a lot of success because of the dynamic makeup of our council.
Don't worry about
now.
that. Because
Until
the part of it is what I'm trying to say. Because you're speaking, at least the people that voted for you
See that.
know where you stand.
Correct.
They know what you're fighting and fighting against and where you stand. That's why I don't want to stand, when things come through and something gets beat or a bill gets killed or whatever. I at least want my people to know that, hey, I'm on this side. I told you that's what I was going to fight for. That's what I'm fighting for.
But you can also file bills that are absolutely not going to win. So you file them for filing them. Keeps you away from doing things that actually get done.
right.
If I'm going to file a bill that's totally pro-life, because I'm totally pro-life, totally pro-Second Amendment, and they get shot down in a Democrat Senate, what have I done for my people? I've done it for myself. Hey, I'm so pro-Second Amendment. Look at this bill that got killed by the bad Democrats. I'm so pro-life. Look at this. But it doesn't get the ball down the field. There are others that will fight those fights. I will sign on to their bills. I will argue for them. I will fight for them. I will vote for them. But if you walk out of this General Assembly session just being partisan on stuff is going to get killed if you're a Republican in the Senate by the Senate Democrats, or if you know that even coming over from the House, the Senate Democrats are going to kill that, then you get nothing done for your area. All you've done is create a brochure for yourself.
Right.
Well,
You have to balance with standing up for stuff and fighting for stuff with also getting things done in your district.
Right. Sure.
And if you're not here for that, then you shouldn't be here.
Yeah, because I've told Hermie several occasions, it's not necessarily what's right or what's best, but it's what you can get past. And sometimes
Sacrificing your principles.
correct. And sometimes you have to, you've got to get the ball moving, which is what you said. that needle's got to move to get some progress. And hopefully maybe you can come back next year or 2 years later and tweak that bill or tweak that law some more.
Incredible lesson.
And just keep it moving.
Even in my 13th session, I still learn. Hermie's just getting on the front end of this, understanding not just campaigning, but how you get things done. He's got a great sense because he's been in the public arena. He's dealt with sponsors. He's dealt with individuals. And he knows how to make decisions that make winning results. He's got a lot of political abilities naturally, organically, that most people don't have when they run. But how do you get across the finish line? So when he comes here, he's actually going to say, I ran on this, I'm going to stick with this, without being subsumed by the political environment and landscape. That's a big question. It's nice to watch you know.
Yeah, but
evolve.
I've known Hermie 50 years. I've never known Hermie to be a sellout. And I think that's one thing the voters can rest assured on. Whatever he campaigns on is what that's what he's going to vote on. I've never known him to sell out.
And I think that's right. We need them. We need him and them as we move forward, especially as conservatives. You have to have people that are going to give a crap, not about themselves. They're willing to put their credibility on the line over and over for a cause. Well, Hermie's proven that. Prove it with the Skill Games lawsuit. But until we change the body politic, and I think there is a great chance in the elections of 2023 where a lot of the old is going to be wiped away for the new. And that's a good thing and a bad thing. The good thing is a guy like Hermie is fresh. The Hermie type senator or delegate comes in, ready to be invigorated, ready to create the process. And the old leaving may not hamper that growth, hamper that exuberance. But when you lose that old growth, you lose hundreds of years of institutional experience and knowledge that the younger people coming in won't have. So you're going to see a sea change in the election of 2023. Hopefully we get a lot of Hermies of the new people. But I think what we're going to get is a lot of the AOC radical left coming out of Northern Virginia. They're going to replace all that old Dick Sasslaw institutional knowledge, right. Janet Howell institutional knowledge. So it's going to be a cluster fornication. Going into 2024.
Because I can't imagine.
But I will be a lot happier if Hermie's sitting there in the will of the Senate, because I know he can't keep his mouth shut. Well, nor should he.
I could never imagine Hermie back in your racing days taking a sponsor just so you could race if that sponsor was with a product that you didn't believe in or aligned with your personal values. I just don't ever see you doing that. You would park the truck, and maybe you did do so through the years. I don't know, but I could never envision you just to be able to race to take a sponsor that didn't set with your values.
Yeah, just from the outside looking in, it's just frustrating. I think for a lot of Virginians. For a lot of Virginians.
And I'm talking. Care.
They
don't care.
I'm going around to this
That's
district,
unfortunate.
knocking on doors, and people are bringing me into their house, and they're like, time is running out.
But it's got to be a great experience for you.
Yeah.
When you were in NASCAR, did you go knock on doors?
No.
Did you go invade other people's space, or did other people invade yours?
Yeah.
And you handled it well when they invaded yours. Now you're going out there and selling yourself, not sitting in a pit, not sitting in a race car, not pumping gas for truckers and for the agricultural business and the lumber business, but a guy that's actually saying, this is who I am, this is what I stand for, this is what I'm going to do for you, and asking for somebody, not for even their vote right now, but to come out and be in a convention. Come be elected as a delegate and go to a convention. A two-step process. That's pretty big commitment that you're asking a lot of those people to make.
But I have a different perspective. I had this conversation. Actually, my dad's been in the hospital this week, as both of y'all know, and I was actually over there last night, and it struck up a conversation with one of the doctors at the hospital. And we were talking about, he had heard I was running for Senate, this, that, and the other, about government overreach and picking. He was aware of all that, believe it or not, guy at Johnston Willis Hospital. And I told this guy, I said, this is not even really about me and what my experience is and what I'm trying to do. It's about everybody in the district, everybody in Virginia for that matter. I
Even
said,
the ones that don't vote for it.
yeah, I said, but in my case, I've got about 315 employees. Every 2 weeks, I've got to come up with $500,000 worth of payroll. Every 2 weeks. And I'm not supposed to care about what the government does to businesses like me. And then forget me. How about the mom and pop operators? And it's just so many things that, and when I come to Richmond, and it's not all, but when I come to Richmond, those people just don't seem like they're concerned at not one iota. I heard one prominent legislator say in a committee hearing last year, well, those small business people just need to find other ways to make money. It's not my problem. I'm like,
That's crazy.
I mean, it really is just
Disheartening.
you know, I look at it, okay, we got let's just say 300 employees. So they got a wife, that's 600. You know, if they got kids, 12, a couple thousand people in the Commonwealth of Virginia that Hermie Sadler is responsible for cutting them a paycheck every 2 weeks to $500,000 every 2 weeks. And I'm just supposed to not worry about the government and how it handles or legislates stuff related to people like us, and it's just really, I got to tell you, it's an awesome, awesome feeling to feel like you're helping provide for that many people. But it's an unbelievable burden and responsibility to feel like, because those people come to work, the ones that do and do a good, they're depending on you to be able to
Write that check.
write that check.
Pretty amazing.
You
Pretty
know?
amazing. All right, we're going to have to close this out because, Miss Haley wants to go home, right, Miss Haley?
You ready to go?
She gave the word yes. There you go. But ladies and gentlemen, we got a lot in front of us. This has not been our funniest podcast. But I think these are big issues and serious issues.
Well, it's things you need to talk about while the General Assembly is going on.
Yeah.
Because people need to pay attention.
Yeah, we're going to get out of this in a couple of weeks, and we'll talk about racing, wrestling, and the other things we do, and we'll balance it with politics. But this is really important.
Sure it is.
Right
People
now.
need to pay
Yeah,
attention.
right here, right now, Shep. You're exactly right.
Right now.
People need to pay attention.
Yeah. And what we're seeing is government in action and government at work, and then government's ineffectiveness for its people. And so everybody, please pay attention to what's going on. Please pay attention.
That's just, you mentioned it a moment ago.
Yeah.
I am, as I go around this district trying to talk to people, there are a lot of Virginians that are frustrated and deflated right now. They don't think that there's hope or that there's light at the end of the tunnel. They are frustrated, some beyond repair. So I may not even win the convention. I may not even make it to the general election. But in so many ways, I'm still winning in my view, because I'm going in to try to help re-energize and reinvigorate these conservatives around this district to say, oh, don't quit on me yet.
Yeah.
Here's what is possible. Here's what we can do. But we've got to get these people back thinking that coming to a convention matters. If your candidate's in a primary, it matters. Get up and get out and go vote, because that's the only way that we're going to be able to change things.
Hermie, how many of them have really just disconnected or have just given up?
I mean,
could you?
if I had to give a percentage, I'd say 25% of the people that I talk
I'd
to.
agree with that.
They're just like,
And that's a lot.
Doesn't matter
throw
what
their
I
hands
do.
up. It don't matter what you do. You can't do.
Don't matter what I do.
It don't matter what you do. You can't fix it at the local level.
Yep.
You can't fix it at the state level. And God help us at the federal level.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to go in and say, hey, look, I'm advocating for me, but I'm also advocating for the Republican Party. I'm also advocating for give people their belief back in the system. And that's why I think this election, not just the 17th, but all these coming up are so important, because we are really starting to lose people, and we got to get them back.
The bell's ringing.
You're exactly right, gentlemen. You at the tip of the spear. South
And you're a
Hill.
smart ass.
Smart
Damn it.
ass on the town council. Shep Moss. Shep, closing words.
Well, I think what we've all heard from this podcast tonight, and I think what Hermie has been stressing, as well as yourself, is get involved.
Yeah.
Keep the faith. You're right. It does start at the local level. It starts with your town and city councils, your school boards.
Yep.
Get involved. Establish your values and then stick to them. And hopefully that you'll be on the right side of those values and you can make a positive change.
Amen, burn
But
pile.
you've got to stick to it.
I thought about the political growth of you through the 52 episodes of this podcast, but I'm tearing up. I'm welling up with pride and getting a little emotional because you've grown so much, like a little hothouse.
I think I know why that is.
Now, I
Exactly.
I think you have made a difference in local government, and I applaud you for that. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll come back. We're coming back next week. We got big guests. We got lobbyists. We got Democrats. We got congressional candidates who are now House of
Lobbyists.
Delegates candidates.
I thought we were
I can't
staying away
wait.
from lobbyists. And man, we're bringing them in.
No, we're equal opportunity.
And I have Satan himself coming in on
We're going to talk
February
to all of them.
19th.
I love to look
Yeah.
at people face to face and talk to them.
I think for this podcast, we always have to give a perspective
Sure we
that's
do.
different from
Sure we do.
Absolutely.
we can talk about our own stuff, and this is
That's
one of
how
those
you
nights
grow.
We do it, but as long as you give everybody the experience of what government is like, I think we're doing the right things. And then we go into racing. We've had the clash.
Yeah.
We're getting ready for our team.
And Kyle Busch got locked up, had a handgun in Mexico.
He may not ever get out.
He's out.
Is that today?
That was back in January, but they just announced it today.
Oh, okay. So we've got a lot to talk about: racing, wrestling, politics, local, state,
Sadler
and
Stanley
otherwise.
Racing getting ready to kick off the 2023
and,
season.
and we got to end this session. So we got 2 more weeks, and then we have the big weight loss challenge, final weigh-in.
I'm thinking I'm coming in third.
I'm fighting for the Virginia State Police Association.
Based on-
I got to lose so they can win.
I made tacos de carne asada.
They were very good.
and Spanish rice and some vegetables and stuff. And based on the volume, I'm thinking I'm still in the lead.
I saw him
Oh,
sprinkling
let's wrap this
stuff on
thing
the
up.
plate.
How about it?
Why would we do that? Why?
Well,
Okay.
Well, it's 10:30. Some of us
hey,
have
are you
to
ready to
No,
go?
not to them.
You ready to go home? You got a busy day tomorrow?
All right, we got to wrap it up. Haley wants to go. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for another episode. Thank you for listening. A lot of important things we talk about, a lot more to talk about soon. And we'll come right back at you in another week. I'm Virginia State Senator Bill Stanley, and I'm leaning right.
And I'm Hermie Sadler, and I'm turning left. And as always, it's nice to have
Shep
Shep Moss.
Shep, where are you leaning?
straight up the middle.
Not a chance. Shep Moss is going to have some exciting news out of South Hill in next week's episode. I'm just guessing. He's all stressed out. He's got issues. He's got personal issues he can't talk about. He's got government issues he can't solve. He's got things he wants to do. We'll hear all about it next week in next week's episode of Leaning Right and Turning Left with Sadler and the Senator.
Thank you.
What a teaser. What a teaser.
Appreciate all y'all listening. We'll see you next week.
God bless you all.
All right, by now, guys, you know I love talking about old wrestling. What you might not know is it's not my real passion. My real passion is helping people save money. My real passion is getting families out of apartments and into houses. My real passion is getting people's finances aligned so they can retire on time. I hated going to Walmart and seeing the greeter being 80 years old. She should not be working. She should be home. Why is she still working? Because she still has a mortgage. I want to help avoid that for you. The other thing I want to help you with, let's make sure your kids don't get saddled with student loans. If you've got a student loan, why did you get one? Maybe because your parents still had a mortgage. I'm not saying that to be funny. I'm being sincere. There's only so much money to go around. What I want to help you do is figure out where you are right now and where you want to be long term. And I do it at SaveWithConrad.com. I've been doing mortgages for more than 20 years. And during all that time, we've helped tens of thousands of families change their life. I mean, routinely, we're helping our podcast listeners save $500, $600, $700, $800 a month. But more importantly, get them out of debt faster and with cheaper monthly payments. But if you don't think it can happen for you, let me just tell you this. We are not the bank. We don't say no. We say not yet, but here's how. We're going to get you a game plan on how to improve your credit, how to save a little bit of cash, and how to get into that dream house. Maybe you're already in the house, but it would be nice if someday we could put a pool in the back, or one day we want to upgrade to hardwood floors, or remodel the kitchen, or get a badass master bathroom. I can help you do all of that with no money out of pocket right now at savewithconrad.com. You don't need perfect credit. You don't need money out of your pocket. And if we can't help you save some cash, we won't waste your time. Check it out, savewithconrad.com, NMLS number 65084, equal housing lender. And hey, y'all, don't take my word for it. Check us out. We've got an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. And as if that's not enough, go look at our reviews. Read them and weep, haters. ConradReviews.com. You'll see more than 1,000 5-star reviews. Our average review is 4.72 stars. Find out how much money you can save. Take control of your life in 2023. By taking control of your finances, we're going to show you how to keep more of your own money. If you've got credit card debt, what are you paying on that? 14%? 28%? You know you can do better. With the mortgage, though, you may not know this, the interest you pay is tax deductible. And we can even show you how to skip your next 2 house payments. So if you could get a lower monthly payment, pay your debt off faster, get a greater tax deduction at the end of the year, and right now, right after the holidays, skip your next 2 payments, buddy, this is the biggest no-brainer in the history of the world. Find out how much money you can save right now for free at savewithconrad.com, or hey man, shoot me an email directly, conrad@savewithconrad.com.